Hey guys, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark, and of course we're going to be watching 500 teens trapped on an island with a madman that's hunting them by Rotten Mango. Of course, last time, yesterday, we had watched the Rotten Mango video about the bridge that collapsed, where of course the school bus unfortunately flipped down and ended up killing a handful of people, including kids on the way to school, etc., etc. I don't have much to say this time around. We might just go straight into it. Usually I sit here and talk for like a minute or two, which, I mean, actually, we've already been talking for a minute, but yeah, I don't think I have much else to say. I don't know what else to watch from Mingo, so we'll probably just go in and just try to grab something next time. I'll keep just trying to pick Rotten Mango videos to watch every day, as long as there appears to be the want to watch these reactions. Yeah, I think we're just going to go straight into this one, though we do, in fact, still, which obviously will be this way from the foreseeable future, we do have the pen with us today, as we have had for a while. I'm just going to always have that from now on for these reactions.
Bada bing, bada boo.
The summer sleepaway camp for youths is held on the island of Utoa every single year.
Where is this? Because that is like tiny, Jesus.
For the past 61 years without fail. Kids, typically around the ages of 14 and 20 years old, they're going to gather for this multiple night stay on the
Assuming this has nothing to do with South Korea, this is just a story of something that happens. Because she does do stuff that isn't Korean related.
This heart-shaped island. And I say island, but don't picture like a tropical getaway destination. It feels more like camping. It's got that like
Yeah,
a this heart-shaped.
Yeah, it's actually pretty small, right? This is a very small piece of land. Cause I don't know if we could like actually just measure this in real time. If we cut this into like what, 4 pieces, which by that I mean like, you know, here, here, and then there. So like that's an area, that's an area, that's an area, then this front part's an area. These could be like what, 10 to 20? So this is 30 to 60 feet. So if that's like 30 to 60, we can use that as like a measurement like there, right? And then how many of those does it take to get to the other side? You know, give or take from that. Which also don't mind the horrible writing, because I'm in such an uncomfortable position to do this, so that's why it always looks like chicken scratch when I'm doing this kind of stuff. So again, that's like about what? This is 30 to 60 feet. Or I'd even give you like 30 to 100 feet. So that's not very far, right? See, wait, 100, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 800 feet, if not way less than that. Like 30, 60, 90, and then 180 once we get to here. Then 210, 240. So 200 feet. 240 feet. Oops. 240 feet to 800 feet, which is basically nothing, right? I mean, 240 seems a bit low, so I'm guessing this is probably like 800. So somewhere between those two lines. So that's not too big of a piece of land. And again, I guess we're gonna have to be doing a lot of hiding, right? Because this is a thing about a madman terrorizing a bunch of people on this island, and it is not big. You have a building here. I mean, you have a building there, and there seems to be like a collection of buildings here, but other than that, it's just woods and then like some empty zones here and there for some reason. Yeah, you're basically just having a forest or out in the ocean to hide. If that is in fact what we're gonna have to do here.
Shaped island. And I say island, but don't picture like a tropical getaway destination. It feels more like camping. It's got that stereotypical summer camp setting in the middle of the woods, tall green pine trees, bonfires, the dirt pathways that connect the campgrounds to the very few buildings that are on this island. You don't really even have many bathrooms. You just have what they call the sanitation building, which is like this giant communal bathroom where every single morning you see all these little teenagers come out of their campgrounds. So whether it's a little camping house or a little tent, they have their toothbrush in hand, ready to go to the bathrooms and brush their teeth. During the summers, it's always raining, or it's like drizzling. So you hear that tit on the tents, and you likely need 3 bottles of mosquito spray on you at all times. It's not bright and sunny all the time. Now, the island itself is relatively small. It's about 26 acres, which, to give you a comparison, a visual comparison, that's about 2 massive stadiums combined. The Yankee Stadium, for example, is a good comparison, 2 of those combined.
Because she probably is going to give us like a more accurate. What did she say?
Now, the island itself is relatively small. It's about 26 acres.
26 acres? I was like looking at measurements for an acre. It's like over 40k square feet or something, but if it was a perfect square, it would be over 200 by 200, so it's 208.7 or something like that. So this is 26 squares of 28 or 200 by 200. So our measurements maybe have been slightly correct. I don't know. Because you're just trying to fit 26 squares of 4,000 square feet in a into this thing. So maybe those measurements earlier were right. I don't know. Just trying to eyeball it earlier.
Which, to give you a comparison, a visual comparison, that's about 2 massive stadiums combined. The Yankee Stadium, for example, is a good comparison, 2 of those combined. Or 15 football fields connected to each other. I mean, okay, it's not small, but it's not large, especially during the camp session when almost 600 teenagers are on the island.
We have a bit better comparison now because we have cars in here now. So how long is like a car? Or like these vans, because we have I mean, this doesn't matter, but there's a van here, which how long would you say that'd be? Like close to 10, maybe like 8 feet long? Question mark? Somewhere along there. Like, it's hard to tell how big this is because this is like a mansion. This barn here, or whatever the heck this is probably 10 by 10, maybe.
The teenagers are there, the adults organizing the whole camp, the camp counselors, guest speakers that come and talk to the teenagers are there. And there's a lot of action going on. But these teenagers, they've got energy. Even after a full day, jam-packed itinerary, they're like, we got to play some games at night. They would have these little dance parties. This is a time where Justin Bieber's Baby was the hit song.
Oof.
You could walk by a row of tents, and more often than not, that song is playing on repeat in like at least half of the tents. Or if you sneak out of your tent after a lights out time, you might stumble upon 2 teenagers just groping each other on what they call the lover's path. That's what they call it. It's literally this grassy path where at some parts the grass is really tall. So if you were to lay down on the grass, it would cover your body. I mean, I guess for that reason, teenagers are like, this is a great idea to just make out in the grass and not be seen. But like, not really, because it's called the lover's path. So the odds of running into another couple that has the same exact idea as you is probably high. But when they're not trying to make out, the campgoers would come up with very unique ways to stay excited. They made Wednesday a speed dating night. Thursdays were for karaoke, and they would constantly play games with just a big group of students. Charades, tag, hide and seek, just with each other up and down this hilly island. Wait, be careful. That leads to the edge of the island. So most of the island would have
Some of this is elevated, so you can actually fall off of it.
Cliff-like drops into the water. So like I said, it's not really a beach where you have all that sand that gently goes into the water. It's like a drop, and there's jagged rocks. So yes, summer camp is about the games that you play. And right now, there's a group of 11 teenagers laying down on the grass on the lover's path. Here, right here, shh. Just lie down and pretend like we're dead. Lie.
okay, I don't. I was trying to figure out where she was going with this because, like, sure, like the teens are always trying to do this kind of stuff, but I was like, do we need to know this? But maybe it actually plays into the whole Madman thing actually, and they're hiding from him in this area.
Lover's path. Here, right here. Shh. Just lie down and pretend like we're dead. Lie down kind of in like a strange position so it looks like we're dead. Hurry. They all start throwing their bodies awkwardly on the ground. I mean, they're almost kind of piled up on each other with their limbs just tangled. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. It's the type of position to at least give you one of those aching leg cramps that makes you want to cry. It's very weird. Now,
Does she mean a Charlie horse, or just like? I'm guessing she means a Charlie horse.
if a single one of them moves, sneezes, coughs, or maybe they forgot to silence their phone and it goes off, their cover would be blown. It's a tense situation because at that point, it's not even about you. It's about you blowing the cover for 10 of your friends. I mean, the stakes are really high. One of the 11 whispers, "It'll be fine, okay? Just stay like this."
Like she's painting this picture as if something's already happened. I do have this kind of problem with these videos where they are spoken in a way where it gets confusing because she's like almost talking for these people a lot of times as if she is them. But then like we're like here especially, I don't know if I've heard her do it like this before, where she's, well, not necessarily like this, but just like immediately it's like she's speaking as the people, as if she's one of them. But it's almost like there's a issue of like they're being hunted already, but I feel like this is more so she's like saying, oh, they're just hiding from like a teacher or something at this point. But it's getting kind of confusing now how we're just going straight into this.
They can all feel the raindrops hitting their face, just big droplets of water, but they're not even flinching in the slightest. They're using all their energy to breathe in as little air as possible. Because if we're both laying in the grass, your arm is on top of my waist and someone else's leg is on top of you, every single time I breathe, your arm, that person's leg, is gonna go up and then it's gonna go down. None of them really know how long they're supposed to be hiding like that. I mean, I guess when the whole thing is over, right? But when is that? They're starting to get angsty. Shh. They hear footsteps. The footsteps are heavy, but not fast. It's almost like a marching noise. Heavy boots on the ground. One step at a time, not rushing. Whoever this is, it's interesting. They're not.
I just looked down to see when this was posted. It was over a year ago because we have the advanced sound effects, which again, I feel like they stopped doing at some point, but we're back with the sound effects. Also, can I point something out that has nothing to do with the story? Real quick, before whoever shows up here and starts murdering these teenagers. This thing has been driving me crazy, I think. I've just realized it again, and it's this thing here. Because, you know, it's symmetrical, but then, like, these lights here are just, like, white. Why are they like that? Why do you have this in your house? This would drive me crazy, that it's, like this is all the same color all the way around, and then all of a sudden it's just pure white. Like, it's in all her videos, right? In this exact position. And I'm just seeing it again. I'm like, why is it like that? It's driving me crazy. Please fix this. Fix this white part or get it out of here.
One step at a time, not rushing. Whoever this is, it's interesting. They're not hiding and they're not playing dead. The group of 11, they're holding their breaths while they hear the foot snapping the branches and twigs on the moist mud ground, and it sounds like it's getting closer. I mean, they could have sworn that snap sounded like it was right next to them. One of the 11 lifts their head and looks up. They see a guy, maybe early 30s, blonde hair, blue eyes, staring straight at them. His face is empty. He doesn't even look confused, like why are there 11 teenagers just laying in the grass like that? He just looks like he's analyzing the situation. He slowly raises his hand, and in his hand,
What are we looking at?
there is a gun.
What? Yeah, where? Also, I didn't draw that circle. That is in video circle being drawn there. But are we seeing this in real time? But we're
and he shoots.
on the shore.
He fires over and over into the human pile on the grass. If one wasn't shot yet, they were underneath friends who had been shot, and their blood was soaking into them now. One boy kept begging the rest of the group, "I'm dying. Please help me. I think I'm dying." Nobody could help him. They're all dying too. Out of the 11, only one would survive. 10 from that group would die. But another 59 from the island, mainly teenagers, will also be killed in the next hour.
Hold on, what?
9 from the island, mainly, they're all dying too. Out of the 11, only one would survive. 10 from that group would die. But another 59 from the island, mainly teenagers, will also be killed in the next hour.
So, we need to mute this. So 69 people, or 69 teens, were killed during this. Also, we're muting this just because, again, this music's a license, and I don't want to get in trouble for it. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like I think I understood what I was trying to say earlier. Like sometimes, these videos can be disjointed like that because obviously we had almost had like a not a cold open, but we were just talking about the islands. And it's the size of the island, what's going on the island, and all of a sudden just hard cut to the murders happening, which is why that just happens sometimes with these videos, and it can be confusing sometimes. If we're still talking about, we're still smoothly going with the story, or if we're just jumping a million years in the future, which makes it feel disjointed sometimes. But yeah, she was in fact talking about the murders at that point. Which I guess obviously we were assuming that after a certain point, but they could have just been playing a game, right? Still, since she worded it as if they just go here, they want to have some fun, make things up. They're in this area, maybe they're hiding from teachers. I don't know. But really, just opening fire on a group of kids. What is going on in this island? Why? I mean, we're obviously gonna find out why. We still have an hour and a half of this video to go.
For Rotten Mango to support the Child Advocacy Network. They provide collaborative intervention services to child abuse victims and encourage them to embrace a future driven by hope. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team of dedicated researchers and translators. And we would also like to thank you guys for your continued support as we work on our mission to be worthy advocates of these causes. Now, as always, full show notes are available at Rotten Mango Podcast.
Sure. There's something I wanted to say, but dude, I forgot it. We'll come back.
There is a documentary out on this case that was quite insightful. There is a ton of articles and written deep dives, but probably the most invaluable source for today's episode is a book on this case titled One of Us. The story.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why? I've never heard of this. Where did this happen that I do not know about this? I've never heard about this before. This seems like a crazy thing to say. It's almost like a movie. A bunch of kids trapped on an island being hunted down by a madman. It just sounds like it's a movie, and yet it happened in real life, and I've never heard about it.
Of Anders Breivik, written by Asni Sarstad. She is this incredibly talented investigative journalist that has won numerous awards for her focus on young women's stories, typically in war-torn countries. She poured through the court documents, worked directly with the survivors, victims' families, and she was dedicated to unpacking every single layer of this really twisted, really sick story. The book is incredibly well written, and by well written, I mean just gut-wrenchingly painful to get through because of how emotional it gets and how raw it is. And additionally, we did most of our research with Norwegian or Swedish articles. So as always with international cases, please let us know in the comments if there was anything lost in translation, miscommunicated, or any additional information that you might have. One big disclaimer: today's case involves a lot of heavy subjects that I think can inevitably turn very political very quickly. There are references to domestic terrorism, racism, Islamophobia, political opinions between who the perpetrator views as a conservative or a liberal. I know, it's a lot. Please view this at your own discretion.
I mean, this is what it was about. We were talking about children, though I guess children now have I think have gone off the deep end into politics, needlessly so, but I don't. Was he out here just killing people because of politics? What? I mean, we're obviously gonna understand eventually,
discretion
but
and prioritize your health and your peace. So, with that being said, let's get into it. Have you ever heard of the Eye of Providence? I mean, maybe you haven't heard of the term.
sounds familiar. I don't know if I know it off the top of my head. Also, I've made this comment before, but I haven't in any of the other videos. Hold on, let me see if I can get like a good
Have
frame.
you ever heard of the Eye?
That's good enough. It's nothing. I just pointing out like little things that have nothing to do with the video so far because we haven't really gotten into the meat and bones of it. But she always has something in her hand when she's doing, see, like some cream, like lotion. I don't know what the heck this is. I'm guessing it's also some sort of makeup or beauty product. Like she always has something fiddling in her hand. It's just something I've noticed in the few videos that I have watched. I don't know if it's ever, I've seen it in her left hand. Usually it's in her right hand, but maybe they have like, I don't know if there's a reason for that, or she's just holding. She's at her desk, so she's just holding something that just happens to be nearby. Not really thinking about it. That's just something I've picked up on.
Eye of Providence. I mean, maybe you haven't heard of the term, but the minute that I describe it, you're going to be like, oh my God, why does that sound so familiar? Where have I seen that? I feel like I see that all the time. It is a very realistic eye.
The all-seeing eye?
Inside of a triangle, and usually it has rays of light just beaming out of this triangle. It looks like this eye inside the triangle is glowing.
Okay, well, I know this as the all-seeing eye, but I guess the Eye of Providence, that's cool too. But yeah, all-seeing eye, the Illuminati, usually is what you think of when you see this eye. I mean, it's on the dollar bill, I believe. Or not on dollar bill. It's on, I don't know if it's specifically a dollar bill. It's on our American currency for some reason, or I'm pretty sure it is. I do have bills nearby to check that, but I'm pretty sure this symbol is on American currency.
Like Illuminati sign?
Yes, I mean Illuminati, right? But where do you see it all the time? Like you don't go to hang out with Illuminati people or Illuminati clubs. So where would you see this? Because you see it all the time.
I don't think I see it.
It's on American currency, but I don't know about Norwegian. We're talking about Norwegian / Sweden? Question mark. Tragedy. So I don't think they would have the quote-unquote Illuminati symbol on their money, their currency. It's just on our currency.
All the time, do I?
It's on the back of a one.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I did. That's why I said for a $1 bill at the beginning, because yeah, it's on the $1 bill.
$1 bill.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
USD, of course. Now,
Yeah.
technically, to a lot of people, the eye is supposed to represent the all-seeing eye of God. It's a symbol of divine providence, meaning the creator is watching over man and all of man's deeds. A reminder for a man to be humble and that there is a higher being. Like, it's a reminder. But others say, no, it's just creepy. It's a conspiracy. It's Big Brother. They're watching us. That's what that means. Look, I don't know how deep you look into it, but it could be the Illuminati. It could be a design choice for the banknote, or it could also represent one of the oldest secret societies, the Freemasons.
Hey, we're talking about the Freemasons too. I mean, we were already talking about the Illuminati. Might as well throw the Freemasons in there. Throw in the freaking Templars as well if we're going to go there, I guess. If we're going there. Which, side note, go play, what is it called? The Secret World? I think it's called Secret World Legends now. Which is a MMO. I don't know how to spell secret. Yeah, it is a MMO that is about this kind of stuff and things that go bump in the night and just like crypto stuff, not crypto, cryptozoology. Cryptids is what I was trying to say, but cryptids and cryptozoology, which is, if you don't know what that means, it means monsters. Like monsters we haven't explained yet or stuff like that. Like Chupacabra, let's say. Chupacabra's not in the game, I don't think, but like Chupacabra, werewolves, vampires, Bigfoots, Loch Ness Monster, those are cryptids, right? So it just has like stuff like that in it, werewolves and vampires and yeah, etc., etc. But the three classes in the game, well, the three factions you can play in the game are the Illuminati, the Templars, and Chaos, I think. I don't remember what they're called. Maybe they're just called Chaos, but it's like a Asian uh, faction that takes place in Seoul. The main base is actually in Korea in the game, and it has a lot of stuff like that, a lot of like secrets and nonsense like that. And like the first world, like I can go over all the worlds because I played all the way to Tokyo. I don't know if they added any DLCs since Tokyo, but I played to Tokyo, which was the end of the game. That was all the content. So it starts with what's it called? Newsmith or Innsmouth. It starts with the Innsmouth stuff. So the first three like sections of the game are Cthulhu based. So it's Lovecraftian. The first section is Lovecraftian. Then is it Egypt after that? The second area is Egypt. So you have a lot of Egyptian gods and monsters and whatnot with that one. Then the third one is Slavic question mark. Transylvanian. I'm not sure. It's Transylvanian, so you have werewolves and vampires in that section. Then I think after that, then it's Tokyo, which of course you have like Japanese folklore and stuff like that. Like Onis, which demons. They're probably I haven't. It's been a long time since I played, so yokai and stuff like that. It is just like the the MMO of all time. I'm pretty sure no one plays it anymore. You might still be able to play it, but it was peak. I loved that game. It was like my number one MMO of all time. I could probably still play it if I wanted to, but like no one's playing it, and I've already played all the way through it. If they haven't added any new content since I played it like a decade ago. So yeah, Secret Worlds, Legends. I think it's you need Legends. Also, you can't even see that. What I wrote there, Secret Worlds there. I think it has Legends at the end of it now, but like the Secret World Legends. Great game, 10 out of 10. Though you might have to cheese some of it because it has a lot of hard puzzles. And I mean by hard puzzles, stuff you would never even think of. Like to solve one puzzle, you have to know like a very hyper-specific verse from the Bible kind of puzzles is what I'm saying. Like stuff like that. Or you need to know how to read sheet music and then play the sheet music in the game. Or there's like ancient Roman that you need to translate to solve a puzzle. Like it's crazy puzzles like that. So if that sounds cool to you, because again, it's like all this mythological stuff, all this folklore, all this just crazy nonsense. You got the Illuminati, the Templars, etc. It is just oof, oof, 10 out of 10. Oops, I didn't turn that off. Close that.
They are one of the most mysterious secret societies out there. They've been around for hundreds of years. Some people argue since early 18th century. I mean, technically it's a fraternity, but for like non-college students, it's a male fraternity where men from qualifying industries with qualifying levels of skill, income, pedigree, background, they are interviewed because you can't just join, and they network and focus on charity. But because not everyone can join, typically they run on a to be one, ask one system. Meaning to be a Freemason, you have to know a Freemason and ask them to sponsor you. Ask them to put your name in to be casted, to even be considered to join the Freemasons.
Are they still around?
Oh yeah. Now, if you pass that stage, the Freemasons will investigate you. They will look into your background, interview you, make sure that you're a good fit, and most of the time, you do have to be voted in. And just because you get in doesn't mean you've got the status and the power all of a sudden. Even in the Freemasons, there's a seemingly endless degree system because Freemasons are all about growth and journeying to become a better man. Allegedly, when a man joins the Freemasons, they have a series of oaths that they need to take, and one of them is protecting the secrets of the order. Breaking the secret, breaking the trust of the Freemasons is seen as a grave offense. There's rituals, ceremonies, allegedly, symbols with meanings, all of which, allegedly, according to slightly conspiratorial online Redditors, are all kept a secret for a reason. I mean, why? Like, if there's nothing to hide, why would you have all these secrets? So naturally, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that come out of Freemasonry. Some believe the connection between the symbols like the Eye of Providence and the secrecy of the Freemasons, that they're performing rituals, bloody rituals. They're sacrificing animals. They're sacrificing humans. What else would they be doing? Because there's this running theory since the beginning of I don't even know how long, probably since the beginning of the Freemasons. The Freemasons are a network of the most influential, powerful people that are pulling all the strings on a global scale. They're the people running this world. You think it's the presidents? No, it's not. Well, maybe it is. Because there were 15 US presidents who were Freemasons. 15.
Really?
Yeah. So people are saying, think about it. The Eye of Providence is their symbol, or at least it's one of their symbols, and it's on the $1 bill. What if they got it on the bill to show everyone just how powerful they are? That's the real influence, and just all the decisions are in their hands. All Anders wanted was to get into the Freemasons. And
So, what you mentioned earlier, like way earlier, when the child looked up and saw this guy, and they just saw some dude with blue eyes and blonde hair, I was like, is this a, not necessarily Nazi thing, but somewhere in that wheelhouse, if we're going to specifically point out the fact that this man is a blonde hair, blue-eyed man.
And
So we'll
once
see
he
if that
got
goes
in, he
anywhere.
could carry out the rest of his plan. Kill as many kids at the summer camp as possible. That was his plan. It was kind of got in, he could carry all the real influence, and just all the decisions are in their hands. All Anders wanted was to get into the Freemasons. And once he got in, he could carry out the rest of his plan. Kill as many kids at the summer camp as possible.
And it's like, why? What does getting into the Freemasons have to do with doing this massacre?
That was his plan. It was kind of a weird gift to get someone, you know, a vibrator. Yeah. Okay, there's a woman who gets a vibrator.
Like, what? Where did the... Okay, again, disjointed. Why are we... Where did this tangent... Hello? Where does this tangent come from?
Someone, you know, a vibrator. Yeah. Okay, there's a woman who gets a vibrator as a gift. Now, conveniently, this is after she mentions to this guy in passing that she and her boyfriend broke up. I mean, what kind of message is he trying to send her by getting her a vibrator? How is she even supposed to react to that? And then to make matters worse...
Also, viewer discretion is advised. We're talking about stuff you shouldn't be listening to if you're a child at this point, because this came out of left field for no reason.
Getting her a vibrator. How is she even supposed to react to that? And then to make matters worse, every time he saw her after he gifted her that, he kept asking, did you use it yet? It was just a lot. I mean, what is she gonna say? She's starting to feel alarmed about the whole thing. He'd always kind of been like that. She'd known him for a while.
Wait, are we talking about this blonde guy? Maybe we're actually talking about the antagonist here, or the villain, I should say. So maybe this is actually relevant.
Sometimes they would sleep in the same bed, and he would just press his body up against her, clinging onto her so tight that she felt like she couldn't breathe, like she was going to go claustrophobic. Even if she tried to inch away from him, he would just inch closer and closer and closer to her. And it always felt like any minute now, he's going to force himself on her.
If they're like a brother, like who are we talking about? That you can just be in the same bed with each other with no problem.
He was trying to, you know, it's just a very uncomfortable situation. Because a son shouldn't do that to his mother.
She was painting a picture to give us, like, here's the drop. I thought maybe this was a sister, but the mom, sure, I guess. But again, like, not like, I guess, but like, I guess that's where we were going with that. Because if it's not a sister, it had to be a mom, I guess. Since who else would you be sleeping with if it's not your significant other, right? Like, how old is this guy that he's still sleeping with his mom? Also, ooh, the present. So again, I'm pretty sure we're talking about this villain at this point.
Right? What kind of son gives his mom a vibrator?
How old is the son?
20s?
And they still sleep together?
Sometimes he would crawl in her bed. Now, if you want to people watch, the best place is at a red light. I'm serious. Okay, I think
I've never thought of that. When I would people watch, like, over a decade ago, it would be at the mall. Always at malls. Go to the mall. We're going there anyways just to hang out and just sit down and just watch people walk by. Though eventually you couldn't really do that. I don't know what happens, but like sometimes we just sat down and uh just looking at people. Like a security guard would show up and be like, you can't sit down here for too long. I mean, you gotta go. You can't just sit down here. And it's like, huh? It's been so long, I can't even remember. But it's like, it's literally a bench to be sat on, and then we sit down on it, and then you get told, you can't sit here for that long. You need to go. Now, like, and it's not like we've been there for like hours. It's just like, I'm pretty sure at some point we just sat down, and the security guard shows up and like, you have to go. I think because the benches are in front of the stores, you can't have people just hanging out in front of the stores on the benches that are meant to be sat on. It's like, what? It doesn't make any sense. Like they don't want anybody um, just in front of stores. Like you're like um how do you say it? You're detracting from, I don't know, the store in some sort of way by sitting on this bench that is like not, it's not like the benches are next to the store. You know, if you know how a mall works, like you have the mall, the stores, then you have the walkways that lead up to the stores on the side, and then we're talking about the second floor in this situation, so there's a railing too that keeps you obviously from falling down. And the benches are on the railing, which means they're like I mean, not even six, like 10 to 20 feet away from the store that we are talking about, that we are sitting in. Probably like, it's between 10 and 20, not quite 10, not quite 20. Um, so we're kind of far away, and it's like, no, you go and sit down. They're like, nah, you gotta go. You can't sit here for more than like 5 seconds, otherwise you're uh, being a hindrance to the store, being, I don't know what the reason was, but it's just like, what, like, how is this? Why is this like this? Also, I have no clue how we got to this topic. Like, I'm being honest. I know I was going on and on and on about the mall stuff. Completely forgot why we even came to this spot about the mall. Maybe if I like roll this back. Oh, the stop signs. Yeah, because we would people watch at the mall. Right, you sit down, look at people walking by, or even just like walking around, just looking at other people. Or again, I mentioned before that the mall that we're talking about, that I'm talking about, is attached to the river. So you can go down to the first slash basement floor and go to the river and just sit down on a table outside and just look at the river. People else also sitting out there. There's like a band playing like flute music usually out there. Um, the food court is on this level as well. So the food court is connected to the river, so you get the food. You can come outside if you want to and eat outside. So you can also just sit out there and just watch people as well. So yeah, that's where I would people watch if I was doing that kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever thought about doing that at a stop sign, since like hanging out next to a intersection is kind of weird, just sitting at a intersection, especially because um, I mean, she's already been talking about something pretty vulgar already, right? It kind of seems like you're on the corner, if you get my drift, if you're just sitting or standing at a corner for like hours and hours just watching people.
If you want to people watch, the best place is at a red light.
Like if you're on the corner for hours, it makes it seem like you might be working the corner.
I'm serious. Okay, I think humans have yet to evolve to realize that sitting in your car does not make you invisible. Even if your windows are tinted, chances are that people can peer directly into your car and see you knuckle deep into your nostril, picking your nose. Even just people watching and looking at the car next to you at a red light, you can usually tell if that person is in a rush or not. Are they tapping on the steering wheel, but in this erratic way that you just know that they're not tapping along to the beat of the music, but they're late for work, so they're anxious? But also, if you're in Oslo, Norway, July 22nd, 2011, there would be a lot of time for you to people watch because traffic is jam-packed. The only thing you can do is listen to music or just glance around and see if you can write everybody's backstory because the traffic is bad. You're not going anywhere. And that one was weird. There was a Fiat on the road, a small little Fiat, and inside of it is a police officer who looks incredibly tense. He's wearing a full body armor, black armor, one of those police outfits. He's wearing an all-black riot helmet, and he's carrying a pistol in plain sight that's just laying on his passenger seat.
I mean, how would you see that unless you're literally up next to the car looking, inside?
I mean, normally that's not how he or any police officer would dress or handle themselves, but July 22nd, 2011 was a very different kind of day. Nothing was going according to plan. Nothing was normal that day. That morning in Oslo, Norway, a white windowless van had parked right in front of a government building in the center of the capital city. And that white car would explode. There was a bomb inside. The building, the government building, it looks like a pressure cooker that exploded. There's footage from an angle of the bomb going off, and the building is still standing afterwards. It does not collapse, but it's kind of like when you play Jenga. You take out a full layer, and the whole building goes up and then falls down. It's still standing, but I highly doubt it's structurally sound. The inside has been torpedoed. Some floors have fallen into each other. The glass on the windows have blown outward, completely shattered. Even the metal, steel, and wood window frames, they've snapped. And they snap like when you snap wooden chopsticks. There's jagged end pieces, and they just go flying across the street. They slam into the building, across, onto the cars, onto pedestrians. The AC unit on this government roof is blown off, and it just goes flying in the air. There's debris and roof parts and construction parts everywhere. There's smoke coming out from that government building, and it looks like all the civilians had woken up in the middle of the night, came out, and looted the entire city. That's what it looks like. There's just dust. There's chaos all over the streets. When you look into that government building, the insides look completely charred. And you could have heard that explosion from 50 miles away from the center. But soon everyone in Norway, and honestly, globally, would know about this bomb.
I don't? Question mark. That's what I've been thinking the entire time. Like, what is this?
It was, first of all, a massive bomb. The bomb itself weighed more than a ton. That's about the weight of a small elephant or a
How did they get a ton bomb into this building? What the heck?
hippopotamus.
What?
And it was homemade.
What?
To give you a better visual context, maybe you see this more often. You know those bulldozers that you have a singular person on construction sites working?
Yeah.
That's about that size. But a bomb. Well, in weight, at least. Now, the fuse had a burn time of slightly over 7 minutes, which means, 1, whoever did this, they put a lot of thought into their plan to escape. And 2, they could be anywhere at this point. The entire street is just littered with shrapnel. Every construction piece of a building is on the ground. They were going flying like bullets. There was a woman found with a foot-long wooden stake impaling her skull. Part of a window frame from the 10th floor office building had broken off, flew high speed at her head. She survived. The first people at the scene, police officers, even journalists, they all said they kept waiting for someone to scream. And cut. They said it looked like a movie scene. They thought a director would come out and say, "Just kidding, guys. I'm sorry I didn't let the city know. This is all fake." Because it looked like an apocalyptic scene.
Very sporadic, again, descriptions this time around. Like, I was saying about her other videos, like, not too much, but now I was saying it now. But this one in particular is, like, very... Like, she is, like, a lot of energy for this one. Since, again, just out of nowhere, and cut that part. She just added that in the middle of talking about this, which she's trying to make it seem like, oh, this looks like a movie. But that just, again, it's another out of left field moment where it just feels like, I don't know. I'm assuming that's just going to be a lot of this. There's some of the kind of stuff in her other ones, right? But there's this one's particularly seems like it's cranked up to 11 for some reason.
But that call never came. Later, investigators would go up to the rooftops of the buildings, and these are not short buildings either. These are like 10 stories, multiple dozens of stories, if not taller, and they would find human remains up on the roof. The blast had been so strong, some of the victims were blown to pieces and their body parts went flying.
Wow.
One victim who was walking into the government building, the only...
They started adding the piano music, but I feel like they added the piano music there a little bit too soon. Like, now they should have added it.
Wow.
One victim who was walking into the government building, the only thing left of his body was his hand that had landed on the ground, and on his ring finger was his wedding ring. The bomb killed 8 people, but by the end of the day, 69 people would be dead, most of them teenagers.
The bomb killed 8 people, but is the 69, like, is that 8 part of that? Or saying, okay, this bomb killed 8 people the same day, but another 69 were killed on this island?
Officer Martin is now sitting in traffic in his full police uniform, his riot helmet on his passenger seat, and he's got to hurry before all hell breaks loose. Once news of this explosion gets out, everyone's going to get in their cars and start driving. They're going to drive out to family members that live on the countryside just to feel safer. They're going to drive to the airport, which they just don't want to feel like a target. They don't know what's going on. Norway feels like it's under attack right now. Is this a terrorist attack? Who is attacking them? There's rumors that it's Al-Qaeda. It's a terrorist organization. They're rushing to go pick up their loved ones and make sure they're not out and about. It's about to be even crazier. It's already standstill traffic. I mean, the drive was supposed to be very quick, much quicker, but it would take him a full hour to get to the island. Officer Martin is doing his best to weave through traffic, to move faster and quicker, but time is of the essence. And it's interesting that none of the other officers have set up those roadblocks. Why?
Saying this guy's in a rush. I don't know if what we saw before with the person walking in the street was the guy in gear walking, but I feel like they should have been running, right? If this is supposed to be urgent.
Why not? What is everybody doing? At this rate, whoever set off the bomb is probably on their way out of Oslo and headed to their next destination, and who knows what they're capable of when they get there. Once the police officer gets to the docks, he demands that a ferry come get him and take him to the island right now. It was the police department higher-ups' orders. They're going to station police officers everywhere around the city, and the island needs to be contained. They're going to go into full lockdown mode. There's going to be...
No. I don't know if this is actually a police officer, or if she's going to be like, what I didn't tell you was that we are actually talking about the villain here, dressed in riot gear, trying to weasel his way onto this island after bombing that building. It seems like it's going in that direction where I don't know if this guy actually is a police officer. Maybe he is. It's just, I don't know where this is heading, so I'm going to guess that.
Be 2 other officers that are going to be assisting. They're going to need to be picked up by the ferry. We got to go. Stat. The ferry comes to pick up the officer, but the captain is a little agitated. How come I wasn't made aware of this? I mean, man, it's complete chaos in Oslo right now. What do you mean? The policeman gets on the ferry with a briefcase and a rifle. The captain of the ferry is stressed. I mean, there are children on the island. They're going to be very stressed out. They're going to be panicking if they see a rifle. I don't think any of them have even seen a weapon in real life. It was agreed that he would keep it hidden. But also, why are the police so adamant on securing the island? I mean, it seems like the least likely place to be attacked next. Because if you're thinking about a terrorist organization, wouldn't they go for metropolitan areas, massive buildings with lots of people housed inside? Well, the building attacked by the bomb was the Labor Party building. Okay, it's a government building, so think of it as, I guess, like the White House, right? The Prime Minister, his office is in there. The people in power right now in Norway is the Labor Party. They're like the Democrats, if you will. And right now on the island is a Labor Party youth gathering summer camp. The island is owned by the Labor Party, and every single summer, the Labor Party Youth League has a massive summer seminar. The former Prime Minister had just been on that island like a few hours ago to speak with the youth, the future Labor Party members.
Okay, so just, we can just refer to them as Democrats. So just a thing that Democrats do to try to indoctrinate the kids, which don't take that word that I just used there as any like stab. I'm just that just seems like the right word, right? I would say the same thing if it's like the Republicans. Republicans just try to indoctrinate the kids into their party. Because I'm not on anybody's side. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, that seems a bit weird. But I mean, I guess you have to start somewhere, right? But that's not where we're going up. I'm still on the team that this police officer is not a police officer. It is the blonde guy, and he's just sneaking onto this place because he's just walking. In that video, he's walking, so it must be the guy casually walking the street, right? And not in a rush. And he's just like tricking his way onto the island to do whatever he wants. And he must be a Republican or whatever. they have for Republicans. So he's gonna go take out all these Democratic children for whatever reason because he's crazy, I guess. Um,
few hours ago to speak with the youth, the future Labor Party members. And they were all, almost 600 of them, were trapped on an inescapable cliff-like island. So yeah, police are going to have people stationed there. When he gets on the ferry, the captain asks him for his name. Officer Martin Nilsson? Maybe the captain of the ferry felt safer, knowing that a police officer was going to be on the island. That way, they would know that the kids are actually going to be safe. Maybe in the hectic chaos of things, there was almost a moment of relief, maybe. But there shouldn't have been, because if they had all just looked a little bit closer, they might have realized this man's police uniform was fake.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't look up to code. He looks so, again, baggy. Even in that cruddy video that they were showing, like, sure, he has like this vest on, but just get that off the internet, or even in 2011, just buy that from a store. Baggy pants. Weird shirt. I'm assuming this is what he wore, though, but who knows if this is actually what he wore.
This was a fake police officer with a rifle and a briefcase filled with bullets.
Yeah, I guess she was kind of like weaving the story to make it seem like this guy wasn't real, especially when she said, why wasn't the roads blocked off, or why weren't the police doing this or that? Like, that kind of was the tip to be like, okay, it's because this guy isn't real. This isn't a real police officer. That's why he's not being accompanied by anybody. Why he's just in like a car driving around, whatever. Everything she said kind of led up to this moment of him. It was the villain in disguise.
He had set off the bomb in Oslo, and he was now making his way to an island full of teenagers, which just leaves one question. What was this fake cop's plan for the island? The couple are staring at each other because the whole thing just feels illegal. I mean, there's no way this is real life. Is this some sort of test by the foster care system? The dad talks first. Excuse me? Anders' mom is just staring at them, deadpan. Yes, like I was saying, could you please just let my son touch your private parts on the weekends?
Again, this video is unhinged. It's not just what's happening. It's just, again, hard cut to a entire conversation that's happening with other people. Possibly just happening with other people, I'm guessing. From what we were just talking about, the guy being in disguise, it's like, okay, cut, okay, next part. It's almost like this video's pieced together in the wrong order.
Wait. Let my son touch your private part?
Yeah, these are potential foster parents. And the biological mom is saying, hey, can you take my son with you on the weekends? But also, please let him touch your wee-wee.
Huh?
What?
I mean, this cannot be real right now. Anders is 2 years old when his
Okay, we're talking about the police officer, at least not the police officer, the guy pretending to be a police officer.
mom applies for him to be assigned weekend parents. So in Norway, they do things a little bit differently, but it's kind of like temporary foster care, just foster care on the weekends. Anders' mom could prove that she did not have the capabilities to care for her children on the weekends without the help of the public schools. She doesn't have the resources nor the time. So she's paired with this nice newlywed couple that could take her son Anders on the weekends and just do normal childhood activities with him. Take him to the zoo, go buy him some books, help him with his development. But first, they needed to have a few meetings with Anders and his mom. So the first time the couple meet Anders, the little boy, and the mom, they think the mom is weird. The mom is strange, you know, she's just kind of off. She just didn't seem all the way there. The second time they meet, though, they thought she had lost her marbles. They thought she was absolutely bonkers. That's when she asked if her son, Anders, could touch the foster's dad's, her argument was, well, he has no father figure in his life, and he only sees girls' crotches in the house, and he doesn't know how the male body works.
This video. Is this age restricted? How is this not age restricted? Hello? This video is so vulgar.
The young couple was just speechless, but she just argued again. It's nothing weird. I'm just worried that he's suffering from not having a father figure.
We rolled back to the if we roll back for a second to the whole thing with his mom, them sleeping in the bed together. It did feel like there was some sort of weird parenting that had happened to bring him up like this. And it seems like, and that's what we're painting it as now. It's like she raised him really weird and messed almost messed him up, kind of? Question mark. He seems to be have been doing a lot of weird stuff back then. And just like let him he was too he was allowed to be too clingy with her. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. This is just like, again, this was said that this is crazy, and this is already crazy. I mean, it was crazy like what, 10 minutes ago. We started talking about like crazy vulgar stuff.
Therefore, you should let him touch
your wee wee. Yeah. She was very anxious that Anders was going to grow up weird without her dad, because Anders' parents, they divorced when he was only 6 months old, and his mom argued he had no father figure his entire life and he's turning out weird. Now, to be more accurate, I don't think Anders really had any parental figures in his life. Anders' dad was a diplomat who was divorced with 3 kids from a previous marriage, and Anders' mom was this nurse, 11 years younger than the diplomat. They actually met in the dark, not-so-romantic, dingy laundry room of their apartment complex. Quickly, they get pregnant, so a lot of chemistry there, and Anders is now in his mom's belly. And from the get-go, not a good plan. This whole thing was just a giant red flag. Even Anders' mom knows it's a red flag. The dad, he's not a loving dad. He already had 3 kids from a previous marriage, and anytime the 3 kids come to visit him, he would just shut them out of his head. He wasn't abusive, but he was definitely neglectful at best, in my personal opinion. He's someone that does not seem to care for children at all. Anders' mom, she went back and forth about whether or not she wanted to terminate the pregnancy. Do I terminate? Do I not? Do I do this? Do I do not? I mean, there were so many glaring red flags, but at the end of the day, like, this is her baby, right? By the time that she made up her mind, she wanted to terminate. Termination was made illegal. She could do nothing but have this child, and she hated this child for that very reason. She's like, this child in my stomach is a parasite. She felt like this baby was absorbing all the nutrients, growing, kicking her stomach so hard to the point where it feels like it's on purpose, where it feels like it's personal, while every day she grows weaker, more nauseous, less attractive. She's aging every single day, and the parasite just keeps getting stronger and stronger. She said, it's almost as if he kicks me on purpose to torment me. And you know how some people are just like, no, just wait. The baby's going to come out and you're going to fall in love head over heels for your child. Just you wait. Maybe that's what Anders' mom was told by her friends. But the minute that Anders came out of her, she felt like something was wrong with him. She thought all those pain meds that I was given during birth, because I was in so much pain, it messed him up somehow. I don't know how to point it, but something's wrong with this boy. Regardless, when Anders was about 6 months old, his parents get a divorce and he went with his mom. I mean, not that he had a choice and not that his dad fought for him. And from then on, it would just be his mom, his older half-sister, Elizabeth, from his mom's previous relationship, and Anders, and whichever boyfriend Anders' mom had at the time. Now, maybe Anders was too young to know how many boyfriends his mom had at the moment, but the neighbors weren't. I mean, they probably had a blast keeping a tally of all the new ones that would show up at her door while her kids were home. Can you believe it? You know, she leaves her kids at night, and then she goes out to do God knows what with God knows which man, and then doesn't come back until the morning. They're not even old enough to be left alone during the night. And the saddest part is, their mom is so focused on her sex life that she doesn't even care that the children are starving. I know, most kids I talked to, they said they went over to hang out with Elizabeth, the half-sister, and they would come back home starving. And they would report to their parents, they don't eat dinner at Elizabeth's. Dinner's not a thing there. Yeah. But the sex life thing was very alarming. I mean, if you're the family's neighbor and you happen to be trying to get into your apartment at the exact same time that the mom is trying to get into the apartment, you'd probably be freaking out because she will keep you in that hallway for hours trying to talk to you about anything that comes to her mind. And apparently the only thing that comes to her mind is aggressive sex. Yeah, it was described by many people as being incredibly aggressive conversations about sex.
Okay. Just gonna chime in for a second, since we're just letting her go on and on for a while. So I think a good descriptor of this video is that if we're gonna get rid of all this for a second, what's gonna end up happening on this island is unhinged, but this video itself is unhinged. I don't know if that's on purpose. I'm gonna assume it's on purpose because this story is unhinged. They're making an unhinged video to go along with it. But I think that's just like a perfect descriptor of this video. It is unhinged.
That's all she could talk about in front of her own children. Elizabeth is maybe 10 at this point. Anders is 4. Elizabeth was like the mom of the family. She would find an excuse for the neighbor to take just so that they could run away from their mom. She knew that her mom was a mess. She'd be like, Mom, don't we have to go put these in the freezer before they defrost? Come on, Mom, we gotta go inside. A lot of the neighbors, the teachers, they all reported something odd was going on in that house. Social Services and the Center for Child and Adolescent Psychiatry ends up investigating multiple times. And Anders' mom is just, she's not doing really well. I mean, she clearly suffers from intense, untreated mental illnesses, but it's also just progressively getting worse. Child Services noted on numerous different occasions, mother seems severely depressed. She states she is thinking of just walking out on the children to go live her own life. She describes herself as being, quote, a nervous wreck.
I feel like you can't just do that. Like maybe people end up obviously doing that, just leaving the children behind. But I feel like won't you be hunted down and gotten in trouble if you do that? I'm assuming obviously no. It's not that black and white, but I just feel like you will get in trouble. I guess maybe just the government doesn't try too hard to hunt you down. They just put the kids in an orphanage or something, right? If they end up finding them before anything bad happens. But yeah, it's the scene's being painted as a series of unfortunate events with this guy, with how he was raised, making him basically mentally ill, and his mom was already mentally ill. Don't know about the half sister. Maybe she's okay. There's all this stuff culminating into him being a madman who went on a rampage, unfortunately.
But at the same time, she blames all of her problems on Anders. She said that he was uncontrollable. He would have these temper tantrums for the smallest thing, according to his mom at least, would push around his older half-sister and even his mom. She said that he was so angry, his punches were painful, and if they ever tried to shake some sense into him, literally they would shake him like, what are you doing? Stop it! His mom claims that he would just smile and then shout in her face, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. Just to taunt her, just to drive her nuts. She said clearly something is very wrong with this boy. He doesn't like to play with the other kids. He never does any pretend play, which is a big red flag in children's development. So you know how kids pretend to be a princess, a butterfly. If you don't do that, it is a little worrisome. It's a huge part of how they develop their brains. Yeah. Now, he never interacts with other kids.
I don't think I knew that, so maybe I'll remember that. Put a pin in that in my mind for if I have children.
He just likes to stand on the side and observe, even at playgrounds. Even if he hurt himself very badly physically, if he tripped on cement and got a crazy road rash, he wouldn't cry. He would just stare at it. And that is bizarre. Anders' own mom described him as clingy, difficult, demands a lot of attention, and aggressive and nasty. Anders' mom would keep asking doctors if there was anything at all that they could diagnose Anders with so that she could get him on meds to help, with everything. AKA, she wants to stomp out his personality with medication because she thinks that he's too much. So specialists decide that they're going to come in to observe and watch Anders to see if he's got any of these traits that his mom is talking about. And they get the exact opposite. I mean, I think they even had to check their files to make sure that they're at the right place with the right kid. He just seemed over life. As a toddler, he took no pleasure in toys. He was not curious. He does not care to do anything physical or use his imagination. He just seemed emotionless, expressionless for the most part. He also was incredibly clean and tidy. He would actually have an outburst when he can't control how clean and tidy his environment is. But the good thing.
Okay, so I feel like we are kind of like trying to paint this kid as born a psychopath, which I mean, aren't you born a psychopath? If you are a psychopath, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what we're going for. They are born a psychopath, which sure. I mean, they massacred an island, so we can safely assume that they were, in fact, born a psychopath.
Thing is, the doctors observed that once they changed his environment and got him to adapt to a new setting that was a lot more kid-friendly, he started slowly exhibiting more childish traits, which is like being curious, wanting to play, doing pretend play. So they concluded that his psychological state and damage was done by the environment and probably his mom. And as of right now, it could be reversed. It could be. So if we can get him into foster care, it's going to be a good time. They noted that the mom was very, very abusive, in a sense, verbally abusive with her son. One second she would be so pleasant and kind with him, and then the next second she would scream at the top of her lungs, "I wish you were just dead." They said that on one hand, the psychiatrist and the specialist believed that his mom had a very complicated viewpoint of men and projected that onto her own son. So it seems like even in her romantic relationships, on one hand, she absolutely needs a man in her life at all times. She needs her son in her life. On the other hand, she's incredibly skeptical and grossed out by a man's aggressive sexual tendencies. And she seems to think that Anders does that at the ripe age of 4. I mean, it was just escalating very quickly. But when they suggested that he be placed into the foster care system, his mom disagreed, and technically there was nothing that they could legally do about it.
What the heck? What the heck is this? Hello? I don't trust this piano.
Sponsored by Carav. I'm the type of person who will test out every single skincare product that I hear about on TikTok.
An Adderall.
But look,
We've never had an Adderall for one of these videos before, have we? But yeah, since we are just gonna deal with this ad for a second, I'm wondering if that, because I said this was driving me crazy earlier, that if this thing here depicts how strong the light is, and that's why it looks like that. You know, like since there's only these little bit of lights, it's dim, and this can go all the way around to give you like full strength of the light, and it's just a indicator of how powerful the light is at this very moment. Maybe, I don't know. Just like making any sort of reason for it to be not symmetrical and driving me crazy because of it. Yeah, so we're kind of painting a picture of two sides here, like, oh, look at how horrible this child's life was, and what could have caused him to be driven into a psychopath. But here's him as an adult doing psychopathic things. Here's what he's doing with his mom as an adult, etc., etc. So we're trying to paint two different pictures of this guy: his childhood of him being the victim, and then his adulthood of him being the predator? Question mark. I don't know how you would want to refer that. Everyone else being the victim, him being the assailant. That's a good word. Assailant. So as an adult, he's an assailant, but as a child, he's a victim. I don't know if that's what they were trying to go for so far. Okay.
I don't think anyone gets excited to write an email. Like, I can't wait to sit down and write this email. Oh my goodness.
So she changed too. I thought she just changed for the ad roll, but no, completely changed for this other half of the video. I guess they stopped for a bit, came back.
But I really used to hate writing emails. I would spend like 40 minutes on one email because I would literally reread it 10 times and I still don't know how to spell miscellaneous. But Grammarly does. And I trust Grammarly with all my email.
Hold on. Is she not out of this outfit because
Grammarly is like an AI
another ad roll?
that does
I don't know if I've ever seen a double ad roll. I think the first one was for skincare, which makes sense because again, I feel like she always has some sort of skincare item in her hands when she's doing these videos, which I don't know if that's like a Hollywood ad drop or not. Like, is that why she always has some sort of product in her hands? I don't think it's always a product, but it always seems like she has some sort of like cream in her hands when she's doing these videos. So is that like an ad? Like an ad you can't even like tell that's an ad? Like, oh, someone just happens to be like drinking a soda in a movie and it's technically there because an ad company paid to put it there? Like a company paid to put it in as an ad. So is that what she's doing with like the creams in her hands all the time? And whatever that little tube is in this episode? I don't know. Yeah, she has something in her hand now too. I think it's just like a tick.
at grammarly.com/podcast.
But I don't know. It could be a conspiracy. I don't know. Maybe she always has something in her hand, not because it's a tick, but because she is doing advertising for that money.
But that was when he was a kid. Later, as a teenager, a few of the neighbors, they could see the red flags in Anders. I mean, they could practically smell the red flags. Really. And when the neighbors, they stepped onto their front doormat to walk into their homes, their shoe would sink into the doormat and make that disturbing squishing noise. It's like if somebody soaked the doormat in a tub of water, pulled it out, and then you step on it, it's like squish. And they're like, that smell, I know that smell because there's no way it's water. It's pee. And there was only one resident who would pee on all the doormats, and it wasn't a family pet, it was Anders. But it's best not to even say anything about it, because if you talk to Anders' mom, she's not going to do anything about it, and if you talk to Anders about it, he might retaliate even harder. One of the neighbors likely said something because her doormat was peed on, then her weekly newspapers were soaked in pee, then her storage room in the basement also peed on. There were rumors going around that he liked to play Master of Death and Life with ants. He would find an ant colony.
Okay, so where's that gonna go? Because I am pretty sure we can't just insert the who has used a magnifying glass on ants experiments or whatever into this, which feels like if you are old enough, like that might be just something you haven't done before. The whole magnifying glass, especially since they show it in cartoons a lot back then too, of using a magnifying glass to burn ants. I'm pretty sure I have. Not that I'm a psychopath. I do like to say that I am a self-proclaimed psychopath, but I think technically I'm not. I'm not a psychopath. I'm just like joking, but like if you want to believe I'm a psychopath, cool. I'm a psychopath, but I'm not a psychopath. But I have used a magnifying glass in the sun before. I don't think I actually killed anything with the magnifying glass, but I have tried to see if it could actually burn before, just to see if the sun could amplify it. I am in Texas, so I mean, we could probably get some pretty crazy heat with a magnifying glass.
And he would see them all walking in the straight line, all the working ants. And he got off on the idea that he could eeny, meeny, miny, moe, and then just squash one to death. It was all up to him. It was his choice. They didn't get a say in who survives and who dies. He would catch bumblebees and put them in a cup of water to watch them drown, and he thought it was hilarious. He would even have these rats that he shoved into a small cage, and it seemed like the sole purpose of having these pet rats was so that he could hurt him. But eventually...
Again, just standard psychopath behavior. But again, I feel like the magnifying glass thing is just something a lot of people did back in the day because they kept being influenced by other people doing it, specifically from media that was on the TV showing people doing it. Though the bee thing, that's not great. I mean, we're running out of bees, right? If the bees die, we all die. So we gotta do something about the bees. Don't kill bees, kids. I mean, if you're a child, you should have been off this video second one. But, I mean, obviously you just say kids because it's funny, but yeah. Don't do anything to bees, kids. If they attack you, they sting you, just let them do it. If they kill you, let them kill you. I mean, we need them. That's a joke, but I mean, like, the bee. If we lose the bees, we lose ourselves, so.
He would move on from rats to people. Now, this is very interesting. So in high school, Anders was bullied, but he was also bullying other kids. So the stronger kids would bully Anders, and then he would turn around and pick a kid weaker than him and then bully them. One time he picked a skinny boy from the school, laid him in an old rug, rolled him up like a sushi roll, and just started jumping on the rug, crushing him.
I thought we were gonna like roll him down, because I feel like that burrito treatment is not unheard of, but like jumping on him, okay, that's not okay. Because I feel like people would wrap themselves in a rug or something and roll themselves up and then just start tumbling down somewhere for fun, in quotes. But like, no, he's just like abusing this kid. He's like actually bullying this guy.
And he thought it was hilarious. And boom, there is a loud bang and an echo through the cafeteria of the main building on the island of Utah.
Unhinged. This video is unhinged. We were just talking about him bullying a child in his youth, and now we're back on the island out of nowhere talking about gunfire in the cafeteria. This video is so unhinged. Also, I feel like, is this the most I've talked during a Rotten Mango video, since I did have to go on that rant about Secret Worlds and some other things, and this video's already gone on for an hour and 14 minutes, and we've been going for 40. I mean, this video so far is 40 minutes, 38 and something. So yeah, we're almost double the time, which is what I want to do. But that's going to be kind of rough, though, because this video's an hour and a half, which means, like, that's 3 hours, man. Is this video really going to be 3 hours? It's already 9 in the morning for me. I just keep getting up later and later, so it's 9 a.m. Not to spoil it for you, that it's not actually night time for me right now. But you can actually see the time literally at the end of these videos. When I play the outro to these videos, that is an up-to-date time and date of as that video is playing. So whatever time and date it is, that is completely 100% accurate to the day and time. So you can see when I end these videos in every single episode.
And it sounds like if someone threw a metal tray onto the ground. Anders walks in and he starts calmly going from room to room. Nobody's running away from him. In fact, the kids are gathering near him, watching him, waiting for him to give out orders. He's a police officer, after all. He's here to save them from whatever is going on this island. So far, all they've heard were a few loud noises that sound like fireworks and some screaming. He walks over at a regular pace to a group of students that are just kind of huddled in the corner, and he opens fire. All of them drop down, and he kind of wants to laugh. He said in that moment, come on, at least half of them were faking it. So he calmly walks around the pile of students on the ground and starts aiming for each of their heads. How many rounds of bullets did he pack? He had a lot to spare. He shot one boy 8 times. He knocked him to the ground for good measure. He shot another one 5 times, and then he turns and shoots another 5 girls 18 times, 18 bullets until all 5 are dead. Then he moves on to the next room of the main building. He kills 5 more in there. This to him, this was easy. This is what he practiced for months for. He was getting into a sick sort of flow state. It was actually the beginning, when he first landed on the island, that was tough. All the nerves, the anxiety, he didn't know if he could go through with it. When he first arrived on the island, he was questioning, is this really gonna happen? Like, should I just act like I'm a police officer and then be like, oh, sorry, I just wanted to protect the kids? Because he was that nervous.
Except that he just blew up an entire building, so he's already technically killed people at this point. So again, he's a psychopath, so who knows what's going through his head, right? I think we are confirmed that he is, in fact, a psychopath, and thus has no empathy or, like, understanding of basic human function. Like, if you're a psychopath, that means you are unable to see other people as important as you are. I know that doesn't make sense, but the standard thing is, like, you're in a game and everybody else is just an NPC. That's how psychopaths think. And that's because everybody's an NPC, you can do whatever you want with them because they're not real. You're the only thing that's real. Everyone else is fake. And that's how psychopaths see the world. Because everything but them is fake. And thus they can do with what they please with the world.
The first people that he came face to face with on the island were an off-duty cop that was volunteering to be a security guard for Utoya, and a woman named Monica. She's the main coordinator of the program, known as the Mother of Utoya. And this is right when he lands on the island. He's surveying the area, he's jittery, he feels the adrenaline. I mean, the island looks a little bit bigger than he imagined. Everything is feeling so surreal. Is this really happening right now? This is crazy. The off-duty cop starts questioning him. And where did you say that you were stationed? Oh, Grönland Station. And they sent you alone to the island? No. 2 other cops are gonna be coming. When? Later. Do you know Jorn from Grönland? The real cop looks suspicious of all of his answers so far. And this Jorn question could be a trap. Either there is no Jorn, or there's a Jorn that everybody who works at the station would know about. Either way, this man is a massive threat to Anders' plan. He needs to get rid of him ASAP. It's now.
I was going to wonder if he's going to kill him or he's not. Because how is he going to kill him without anyone else seeing? 'Cause apparently there's another woman here, right?
Or never. He doesn't answer. He slowly reaches for his pistol while the off-duty cop and Monica are walking in front of him, guiding him up the little trail. He raises it, and Monica turns around in time and screams, "No, don't!" He shoots the guard in the back, then he turns, points the gun at Monica, and shoots her once in the back. They're both down on the ground, and he fires more shots into both of their faces. Right at that moment, when he's done, he looks up, and the boat captain, who happens to be Monica's husband,
No way.
sees his life partner on the ground covered in blood, and he screams at the children on the island, "Run for your lives!" And everybody starts running. Except Anders. He keeps his pace, and he starts hunting them down one by one. The students are turning to each other. "Everyone, report to the cafeteria. Please grab a buddy and let them know that we're all meeting in the cafeteria." The air is humid, it's been raining all day, and the students are showing up, clonking around in their rain boots. Wait, what's going on? It's not even mealtime. Why are we all assembling in the cafeteria? Was there something on the schedule? Another guest speaker? A few of the students had privileged information. They would lean over. "No, I think they want to talk to us about what's going on in Oslo. Apparently there was a bomb." "A bomb in Oslo?" A lot of the students had parents that worked in the government building, or at least on that street, because remember, this is the labor camp youth group.
So that's a problem. If they all think they're going to be talked to about a bomb, and they're all going to huddle into this area, if no one knows that this guy's shot outside of the guy telling them all to run, who actually saw him do this other than the boat captain? Because then it's like they're all going to gather in. Some of them think it's a bomb. They're going to tell all the other ones that they're going to be talking about a bomb. And then they see him dressed as a cop. They'd be, okay, he's here to talk to us about the bomb. And then it's just keeps going in this guy's favor of situation. It's just like everything just that could possibly go right for him is going right.
Considering that they're all part of this labor party, kids are starting to get really panicked. They're calling their mom and dad over and over until they finally get a response. Is this how parents feel when they don't pick up the phone? Like, that's what they're joking about. The kids are on the verge of an anxiety attack. Mother Yutoa, Monica, she's been managing this summer camp for the past 20 years, and she's trying to calm the kids down. She's bringing out her maternal side, and she's being very...
Is that not the woman who was killed with the police officer, or is that a different lady?
Very comforting. The rest of today's events have been canceled. The ferry will only run as needed instead of every hour back and forth off the island. But I just want you guys to know that you are safe. We are safe. We are in the safest place to be right now. Thankfully, almost all the parents working at the government buildings were fine, uninjured, and they all agreed. You guys are in the best place right now, because if there's gonna be another attack, another bomb, it's not gonna be on the island. It just made more sense, because metropolitan areas, that would be the main focus. This was the logical guess. Why would they have a bomb on the island? In that case, the parents were grateful that their kids were there. The kids were to sit tight, talk to an adult or counselor if they needed to emotionally process this information a little bit better. But other than that, they should be good from there. Wait, did you guys hear that? Hear what? I don't know, it sounded like a hammer hitting a piece of metal? A construction type noise or something? Wait, you just heard that, right? Did you hear that? It sounds like a firework or something.
Gunshot in the background that they added as a sound effect. Hammer hitting metal, I mean literally, hammer hitting metal in the gun.
God, maybe some kid thought it'd be hilarious to light a firework right now after the news of the bombing.
I forgot what I wanted to say. I kind of do. It's just, again, everything's perfectly going in this guy's favor. Again, even with the parents being like, oh yeah, that they're on the safest place in existence right now. So nothing's bad's gonna happen. It's just so coincidentally in this guy's favor that it's like, is this guy part of the Freemasons? Can the Freemasons manipulate reality? I mean, that's the whole conspiracy, right? We already talked about conspiracy stuff, right? We were talking about the Freemasons and the Illuminati, the all-seeing eye. It's just, that's the whole gig, right? Like, just witchcraft and stuff like that that can control the world. It's just like, how has everything perfectly lined up for this guy? Even to that kind of degree, just like small little things. Because it's small little things, not major things, that are just like, in his favor, that's what makes it weird. Not like if it was a bunch of big stuff, that would be kind of weird. But just the small, tiny things. If you know about um, that kind of like I don't want to say witchcrafty side or whatever. Just because it's like subtle little things like that that you can like just nudge. Like if people believe in witchcraft and stuff, you can just nudge someone to in this direction or that direction because it's not a big push, right? I mean, this is obviously just a psychopath, and everything just happened to go in his favor. I'm just adding a second branching path that we can go to if we want to go supernatural for a second, because again, we're already talking about the Illuminati and the freaking Freemasons. So, um, obviously, on one side you have it's just a psychopath somehow got everything he needed constantly, coincidentally. It's just all coincidence, and then you go the other path, which is there some supernatural stuff going on? I mean, she in one of these videos, I don't know why she hasn't done it since, went supernatural at the very beginning for no reason in the mall video, and out of nowhere, just left field, and then no supernatural stuff for the rest of the video. Didn't even mention anything about that. Just like, oh yeah, there was a ghost being spotted in the mall for a while, and then nothing. I don't think any other of these other videos have any supernatural stuff in it either. So it's just weird that she hit that in that one video, and then now here we're talking about the Illuminati and Freemasons, but I feel like that does in fact have something to do with the story because this guy wanted to get into Freemasons and uh, political stuff, blah 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 blah. But again, if we just want to interject some other thoughts into this story,
It's so sick, okay? If that's the case, it's very childish.
I just like throwing in anything at the wall, right? Just any scenarios. I like thinking of like a million scenarios for any situation, so that's just something. Even though it's like it's crazy, right? But just something to think about. It's perfectly fine to be like, oh yeah, it's just coincidental. That there's nothing wrong with that.
That would
because
not
it
be the
obviously
case
is.
at all. Other kids thought maybe the camp had it set up already so that the kids could learn what it's like to grow up in a war zone, to have these unexpected attacks and air raids. But if that's the case, that would be incredibly insensitive considering what happened earlier in Oslo with the bomb. But there was no time to even contemplate because all hell will break loose on the island. The kids just start running. Some of them have no idea why they're running, where they're running to, and some of them don't even know what they're running from. They just see people screaming and running, so they're running. Wait, what are we running from right now? It's like an obstacle course with all the tents, the bonfires, camping gear, rain boots. If you trip, you might die. The confused kids keep running and running and asking questions. What the hell is going on right now? Why are you running? Nobody would respond, but eventually they would all run past a body, bloodied, dead, on the ground, and now they knew what they're running from. Hello, this is the emergency operator. How can I help you? Please help us. We're on Utoya Island. There is a man walking around in a police uniform shooting at us. The line goes dead. The operator stares at his phone. What is wrong with kids these days? I mean, the youth, they really have no such thing as discipline. What is...
So here we go again, the jokes. Like, you can't not think that you're being pranked. So we got 2 back-to-back pranks, right? Because I said, in the mall one, I don't know about the mall one, but the Itaewon one, like the police could have just thought it was pranks, which is why they didn't take it seriously. But apparently with the ferry, did it happen in the ferry? Like the ferry one and the bridge one, they could have thought it was pranks. The bridge one, they did, I think. So here we are again with them just thinking it's a prank.
Sick joke to make right after the Oslo bombing. He's about to turn to his coworker to rant about this kid doing a prank phone call when ring, 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 ring. Every single phone is lighting up and the calls are getting backed up. Every single phone call from Utoya Island. This was not a sick prank. This was far from that. Back in the main building, Anders was methodically murdering the children. He would walk up to a girl hiding her head near the piano keys, thinking he couldn't see her. He walks over, shoots her. Blood starts pouring out and down between the piano keys. Shot after shot, he's just firing into everybody. A lot of the kids would hide their faces with their hands. The bullet would go through their hands and then into their heads. Anders walks up to behind the piano and sees another girl hiding. He smirks, fires a shot. It goes through her hands, but it doesn't hit her skull. Then another shot. This time it goes through the top of her arm. And the whole time, she thought, this isn't so bad. I think I can survive this. I think so. I mean, her whole body just started to feel numb. She felt like this buzzing sensation. Her brain is not registering at all what's happening right now. It felt like she'd been kicked with a soccer ball really, really hard, but she thinks she can survive. And then the next bullet hit her jaw. She slumped to the ground, holding her jaw in place, and she could hear the gunman just breathing heavy, walking over her to the next student to kill. It's interesting. The taste? She said that she's never tasted that before in her life. Gunpowder. It tasted like gunpowder. This was going to kill her for sure. I mean, she could feel it. She's never experienced this before. But the movies, the books, this is it. One shot and you're dead. This is her third, and it's in her jaw. She's starting to lose feelings in her arms, and then she tasted it. This time she knew that taste. It was blood. Meanwhile, 16-year-old Elizabeth.
Okay, so I think, again, the way she speaks about things, reads things, is it gives you past tense or present tense, etc. So we're assuming the girl who got shot 3 times there lived because her hand actually tanked the shot, then her arm tanked the shot, and then her jaw tanked the shot. So she didn't take any lethal damage from that. So thankfully she was able to survive that. And that's why we got the first person testimony of her actual thoughts at the moment for that. Because otherwise, how would you know what she was thinking before she died, right?
Is on.
Also, I know we're halfway through the video at this point, but again, extreme viewer discretion is advised because I didn't even think that we would be getting such graphic depictions of him killing these youths. So yeah, probably there will be an extreme warning on the thumbnail, which I've put before. Because again, I wasn't even expecting it to be this descriptive.
Time she knew that taste. She's starting to lose.
We're still talking about that.
It was blood. Meanwhile, 16-year-old Elizabeth is on the phone with her dad. She heard the news about the bomb in Oslo, and her dad works as a truck driver in Oslo, Monday through Thursday. She has no clue what route he takes for work and like what happened if he were to be in front of the van when it exploded. What then? Thankfully, he picks up to let her know that he's at home still. He didn't make it into work. He's going to be okay. Elizabeth just feels this weight lift off her shoulders. She can go find her older sister and tell her that her dad was stressing them out for no reason. He forgot to unsilence his phone. That's why he didn't pick up, but he's fine. She has no idea where her older sister, Catherine, is, though. That was 10 minutes ago. This time she's on the phone with her dad, and she's not talking to him. He's just listening through the line, and she won't respond to him. He just hears her screaming. He talked to her 10 minutes ago, and it was a pleasant conversation. What is going on? He checks the news. There's nothing about Utoa Island. There's nothing. There was no bomb that was set off there. The first thought that pops into his mind is she's being essayed.
Wait, what?
Because there's no news about the island, he thinks that she's calling because someone is essaying her at the summer camp. Either way, he hops into his car and he's telling Elizabeth, who is no longer responding to him, that he's coming. He's coming to the island. He's going to come and get her right now. For 2 full minutes and 7 seconds, he could do nothing but listen to his daughter scream for her life. Then, a bullet goes through her head, through her left temple, out her right temple, and straight into the phone, and the line goes dead. Anders' life was not as easy as it looked, okay? In order for this to work, he had to prep for months in a random farm out in the isolated part of town, out in the middle of nowhere. He had to sit there for months going over the laborious, tedious steps that it takes to create a bomb that weighs a few thousand pounds. He had to crush over 200 packages of aspirin, the headache medication. He had to grind down aluminum.
Yeah, it's like, how did he make this bomb? This psychopath who probably didn't get the best education just easily put together a ton. I mean, a ton is 1,000 plus weight, but is it a ton like 1,200? Sorry, not 1,200, 2,000. A ton is 2,000 pounds, I think. But yeah, like 2,000 pounds bomb you just made from scratch when you are clearly dealing with mental illness and being a psychopath and probably didn't get the best education, I would assume, question mark, growing up. And you still were able to do that somehow?
Until it was a fine silvery dust. It just got on everywhere. Do you know how aluminum powder is? I mean, no matter what you do, it's going to be on every single piece of your clothing. It's just going to be covered in gray dust. It's worse than glitter, honestly, to get out, but it also makes things more explosive. He had moved to the farm a few months ago. It's about a 2-hour drive from his mom's house, and he clearly underestimated the amount of work that this whole thing was going to take. His plan was to create a fertilizer bomb. But it's not as easy as they say online. Fertilizers for farms are usually in pellet form. Each pellet is coated in a water-repellent material. To make these pellets detonate, because, you basically have to soak it in diesel and gasoline, the pellets have to be crushed in order for it to become explosive. Now, how do you crush it without grinding?
Okay, are you allowed to say this? I'm not trying to get in trouble for you explaining how to make a fertilizer bomb. I mean, you have 5 billion subs, so sure, you probably have protection. Hello? Don't tell people how to make bombs. Hello? Don't do that. I don't want to get in trouble, but still, don't do that. You should not have explained that.
Grinding it. He doesn't have a machine. So he would just put them all over on the red barn floor and grab a dumbbell, one of those workout dumbbells, and he would just crush them. He barely got through anything. Nothing is going as planned. His whole body feels like it's been ran through by a truck. He's so sore all the time. He feels like his arms are going to fall off. His timeline keeps getting pushed back and back and back. At this point, he's going to miss the summer camp. And even when he was able to do it, he's reading about all these shady websites and how easy it is to get ignited and how so many people have blown themselves up in the process of trying to create a fertilizer bomb. So he's feeling a little freaked out. And the fertilizer dust is everywhere. He said, I used a 3M mask, but surely I'm going to die of cancer within 12 months. I mean, I must have gotten so much of the fertilizer dust into my lungs. He would make mini versions of the big one that he was planning.
You're gonna do with the little ones. Also, is it really that toxic? Will you actually get cancer from fertilizer? Which, if so, why are we using it if it's that deadly? And not just why we're using it if it's that deadly, but what does that say for the food that's being grown with something that could literally give you cancer in a year? Hello? Conspiracy?
And when it was thundering outside, he would take it out into the field to test it, to make sure it works.
That's crazy.
And it gave him a lot of anxiety. What if someone hears it? What if someone sees him? But also, what if it detonates before he can walk away? What if the fuse doesn't work as planned? Then what? So to do all of this, he had to spend a ton of money on steroids and protein powder to get his muscle mass up. This guy was jacked. There's no way that he felt he could carry out this plan if he did not have the stamina. He drank
Did not even realize that, since the suit was pretty baggy. But I think if we did have a shot of him sitting in the chair, right? I think there was some shot of him sitting down, and he did look big, I think. So maybe he was pretty muscular.
a ton of milk for a few months straight. He said that his reward system was good food and protein. He needed all the energy that he could get if he was going to kill as many people as he planned to kill. He wanted to kill over 100. Some people have described the island of Utøya as a piece of heaven on earth, or at least before July 22nd. If you look at the island from an aerial point of view, it's heart-shaped, and people say that it has all the best things about Norway just compiled into this one tiny little space. The trees, the water, the climate. The island itself is pretty underdeveloped, which just adds to the beauty of it. There's no crazy resorts on the waterfronts. The island is owned by the Labour Party in Norway. So there's just a few buildings out there for the purpose of gatherings and seminars and most importantly, the youth summer camp that had been going on for 61 years. Yeah, the few buildings on the island include the main building. That's where all the guest speakers come to do these massive group activities. Then you have the cafeteria, a cherry red schoolhouse, tiny green cabins, as well as clearings to set up tents. There's also this little flat patch where you can play soccer, but most of the island is wooded. And these wooded areas, they just drop randomly down into a cliff into the water. There was really nowhere you could run. And he was hunting them, and they had nowhere to hide. He would later say it's not like the movies, the way people die. Yeah, there were two ways that people reacted to him on the island. This is what he said. Either they would lay down and pretend to be dead, or they would freeze completely, like their feet were glued to the ground. They could not stop staring at him. He would have the gun barrel up to their face, and they could not run. Nothing was holding them down. They were just frozen. It's like they knew what was going to happen next. He was going to shoot them. He's not going to spare them. He just thought it was so strange. He never saw anything like that in the movies. But he was also experimenting on his time in the island. He said one time he shot a girl mid-scream. He fired into her mouth. Her skull shattered, but her lips remained unharmed. The bullet did not graze any part of her lips. He's basically bragging that his aim was good. He also would later report that he shot people's heads and they would all sort of let out this exhale, like a He thought that was interesting. He said it didn't happen all the time, but most of the time it did. And he never read about that anywhere, nor was it depicted in the movies.
Again, extreme. Your discretion is advised. I don't know how this video isn't like age restricted or like blocked or anything, because we're talking about descriptive deaths of youths in like way too much detail. It's almost like this isn't even real. I'm not gonna say it's not, but it just feels like it's not real with how much detail we're just being given in this video. Though that reminds me of like the video of the guy who plays, is it Sauron in The Lord of the Rings? I think he's also Count Dooku in Star Wars. Specifically in the Lord of the Rings movie where they're like, there's someone gets stabbed in the back. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings in such a long time, but somebody gets stabbed, and the director wants them to do it a specific way, but like the actor's like, no, when someone gets stabbed in the back or when they get stabbed, they release an exhale of all the air in their chest or something like that. You can just look it up, him talking about it. And it's because I think allegedly that guy used to be like that actor, the guy who plays Sauron / the guy who plays Count Dooku / whatever. He used to be like a spy or something? I'm not sure. So, like, if anybody knows how someone dies from being stabbed, it might be that guy. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Like, him being part of, like, the military or spy or whatnot. But, again, that video, I've seen it a few times show up on the timeline over the years. It's just an exhale. It's not a scream or like, it's just an exhale of all the air. So that reminded me of that.
There are reports, though, that after he aimed and shot someone, he would let out a quick little whoop or a cheer. And even then, there was still a lot of chaos on the island. Obviously, nobody knew how many shooters there were, or if he was the only one, or if there were other officers on the island. Everyone was confused. Is this a real cop? Is this not a real cop? Near the middle of his spree, he would get tired of checking every nook and cranny in the grass and in the buildings. He resorted to luring the kids out. Is everybody okay? We caught the gunman. You're safe. The ferry is coming. We need to line up and get you on the boats. Kids would poke their heads out of their hiding spots and see him in his police uniform with the police badge on his black shirt and all the gear that a real police officer would have. Come on, everyone. We've apprehended the shooters. It's safe now. We got to get going. We got to make sure that everybody's accounted for. One by one, they would hesitantly get up and walk from the area of the grass that they were hiding in. And once he gathered a big group, he would lift up his arm and open fire.
Oh my goodness, that is...
After being shot, one survivor said she was shot in the shoulder and in the stomach, then later once through her thighs, through her legs. And she remembered thinking, okay, so this is how I'm gonna die. This is it. She just remembers feeling so thirsty and just waiting for death. She closed her eyes, and even before she closed her eyes, she said that everything looked foggy and misty, and the sounds were all muffled as if she was underwater. And she thought, oh, this is what death feels like. Okay.
I'm guessing she's just suffering from blood loss and possibly a panic attack. I think maybe a panic attack could blur your vision. As someone who's had, 1,000 of those before, I think it's probably just the blood loss.
Okay. She closes her eyes and she gets ready because she said, I'd rather just die quickly. But the darkness never came. And she opened her eyes again and she felt this overwhelming sense of, well, if death doesn't come to me, why would I go to death? I should try and survive. And she said that she kept thinking about two things to keep herself awake and distracted. One, she hadn't seen the last Harry Potter movie yet. She read all the books, but the last film, Deathly Hallows Part 2, it'd be a shame if she left the series unfinished. And two, there was this guy in her class.
I think 2011 was the year that Part 2 came out. I mean, I think that's what she just said, but like, isn't that when Part 2 came out, or was it sometime around that? Because I swear I know, because I was like walking around, I think the mall, like speaking of the malls, at that time in 2011, and seeing the posters and whatnot for Deathly Hollows, and obviously freaking Twilight as well. I don't remember what the second one was called, other than the second one, the last one, because it was also in 2 parts. But that one too, like the posters for Harry Potter and Twilight, Part 1 and 2, they were apparently all movies have to have a Part 1 and Part 2 now for the same movie. They couldn't just have it all in one video.
He was a total douchebag. And 2, there was this guy in her class. He was a total douchebag, and she never told him he was a douchebag. And she said, so now, unless I go and tell him he's a douchebag, he's gonna live his whole life not knowing that he's an ultimate douchebag.
Except for if he's on this island and he gets killed, then you're gonna feel bad about that, because you wanted to go tell him that. That's all you were trying to live for, to tell him that, and then he ends up dying. That's gonna feel pretty rough.
So she had to stay alive for that.
I'm assuming he's not in this class, though.
Anders did spare a few of the kids. One was this little boy. I believe he was there with his parents, and Anders believed that he was too young to know any better, too young to have a choice on whether or not he was at a camp like this. So he spared the little boy, but also he needed some more bullets. But he also spared 21-year-old Adrian. Adrian, in the beginning, when he first heard the firework-like noises, he did not believe that someone was hunting them. I mean, as of right then, this just doesn't make sense. It's kind of ludicrous. The idea of someone coming onto the island and shooting at them in Norway, where it has one of the lowest murder rates, like, people don't just shoot people in Norway.
Isn't, like, Norway supposed to be seen as some sort of, like, utopia, right? I'm not sure. There's some place over there that's supposed to be, like, some sort of utopic location. I'm not sure. Like, no, never gone to war, doesn't have this, doesn't have that, etc., etc. But what is going to be with this dude? Is he going to be like a Republican or a Republican adjacent in Norway, and that's why he gets spared, despite being an adult? Because obviously that's the whole point, right? Because we're on this island of that's supposed to be for the Democrat adjacent people, so that's why he's out here killing. But is this guy a Republican adjacent who just happens to be here? Question mark.
That's crazy. Adrian thinks genuinely like someone in the camp is trying to have a sick joke right now. And even though his brain is having a very hard time processing everything that he's heard, his body's reacting. He is half crouched, hidden behind a tree, and all around him he can feel more teenagers crouching and waiting to see what's the best next step. Everyone but the girl in gray. She did not hear anything.
She deaf?
She had been in the showers the whole time.
Oh, okay.
She had no idea that her friends were being hunted and murdered in the woods. She didn't hear the gunshots. She was in the shower. She's walking out of the bathroom, and all the other students are holding their breath because she's on the phone and walking straight towards the guy with the gun. The man starts walking straight towards her too. He doesn't speed up or slow down. He just walks at a leisurely pace, and he looks like he's intrigued.
Yeah, it just seems like he's trying to be cool this entire time, right? Because he's walking slowly the entire time. He's not sprinting or running after anybody. He's just meandering towards everyone.
They're just strangers that are about to pass each other on a hike. But when they're a few feet away from each other, the girl looks up and her whole body tenses. There's just something so unsettling about this whole situation. Why is there a police officer on the island, and why is he holding a gun, and why is he looking at her like that?
And there's nobody around.
There is, but they're hiding.
Right.
Her whole body tenses, and she instinctively takes a few steps back. And the students in the grass see the man lift his right hand and shoot her straight in the head. And she is dead. That is when Adrian realized, this is not a prank. This is very real. Adrian and the others, they make a run for it. They start running towards the edge of the island because they're ready to jump off the cliff and into the water. They start
Who is that?
throwing themselves into the water, under the water. Maybe if they're under the water, he can't see where they are. And maybe if he can, the bullet can't reach them that quickly and won't have the same amount of damage since bullets travel slower due to the density of the water. Exactly. So
Allegedly, but I don't remember what the Mythbusters episode said about bullets in the water. They did experiment with shooting bullets through water. I don't remember what the outcome of that was because that was well over a decade ago, maybe even 2 decades.
Adrian is knees deep in water when he looks to his side and he makes direct eye contact with the barrel of the gun. And it feels like multiple Mississippis have passed. Time is slow. He imagines his parents and their cute Australian.
She was trying to be cute there. She had multiple Mississippis. If you somehow don't know that, or if you're not familiar with like weird little cultural things with America, you use Mississippi as an indication of how long a second is. So like 1 Mississippi, that's 1 second. 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, that's 3 seconds. Like so, you're supposed to say that to like gauge out properly how long a second is without actually looking at like a time. You can just naturally gauge a second by saying the number and then Mississippi, or just saying Mississippi, right? So that's what she meant by multiple Mississippis. Is she's talking about seconds?
Hippies have passed. Time is slow. He imagines his parents and their cute Australian shepherds just showing up to his grave, and he's thinking, what a shit way to die. That's what he was thinking in that moment. And he looks up and he screams, "Don't shoot!" But he instinctively closes his eyes, waiting for the impact of the bullet. What does being shot feel like? I mean, I guess he's gonna find out, right? But when he opens his eyes, the man has lowered his gun and is stepping away from the trees. What the hell? Is his gun jammed? But then he hears 2 more shots ring out almost immediately. The man, Anders, would later say he did not kill Adrian because Adrian looked like a conservative rather than a liberal.
Okay, I mean that's what I thought. It was just, it had to be some sort of conservative thing. So it wasn't even the fact that he was a conservative or not, or a Republican or not. It's just that he looked like a conservative, and he said don't shoot. So I guess he just got free, right? I mean, it's not like, what do the kids look like? It's for them to be like, oh, be liberals, right? What? How do you discern that? I mean, shut up, because I know we're all going to say like what liberals look like, but come on. Like, let's be real for a second. What are we basing this off of? In 2011, what are we basing this off of? Not in modern time. What are you basing this off of? Which I feel like in 2011 there was no basis. It's just like you can't tell. Like it's like, oh yeah, he's a conservative. He looks like a conservative. Sure. Like what? I mean, at least the guy got to survive, right? But still, how are you gauging the children? What are your metrics? Of course, which I mean, there's no metrics. He's a psychopath.
What?
Anders had a manifesto titled 2083, a European Declaration of Independence. The whole thing is 1,500 pages long. 1,500 pages, not words, pages long. And when he's done, he had a plan to email it to over 1,000 people before he committed his crime, which he did. The manifesto was emailed out to like an email list before he committed the crime, before he bombed the government building.
Who's on the list?
A lot of them were neo-Nazis that he met on a forum that he was collecting.
Okay, I mean, Nazi dropped. I said Nazis at the very beginning. She mentioned blonde hair, blue eyes. This guy has blonde hair, blue eyes. He's killing non-Republican. So, what party do Nazis belong to? I guess it would be far right. Usually they're sent to be far right, but I feel like someone will be like, well, actually, they aren't technically far right, that's what I mean by that. Are they actually far right, or is that just like a modern day misconception? I'm just going to assume they're far right, and that's why the conservatives are fine. But again, still, I knew some sort of Nazi stuff was going to come up with the fact that he's a blonde hair, blue eye, which is like the Aryan race. Blonde hair, blue eyes is the Aryan, right?
Collecting their emails, but also they would include Norwegian politicians and journalists. The whole dragging 1,500 pages of the manifesto are just him critiquing Norway, Norway's Labour Party, multiculturalism. I mean, nothing he says is revolutionary, eye-opening, even thoughtful, or remotely correct. Most of the pages are littered with historically inaccurate, rambling rants of someone who thinks that they know more than everybody else. Also, it's just filled to the brim with hatred. Basically, he's a raging racist. Most of his hatred is aimed towards anyone that is Muslim. He really hates Muslim people. He thinks that they're immigrating too frequently to Norway and they're going to secretly rape all of the Norwegian women and take over. Yeah. And he thinks that they're immigrating to his country. because this random good-for-nothing civilian owns the country. In the manifesto, we do get a diary of how he's planning on committing the bombing and shootings. He even writes about his steps to get there and how he's been planning this for years. And something very unsettling to note, the way Anders talks about the plan is almost like he's planning a tactical military operation. There is no sense that he understands these are real lives.
Yeah, again, psychopath.
Not saying that he doesn't know right from wrong, but like he's such a narcissist, he does not believe that other people's lives mean anything.
I mean, psychopath, again, they don't see other people's lives as real. They're the only one that exists. Everything else is just a plaything for them to do with what they please.
This is his world and we're all just living in it, is the tone that he uses. He also emphasizes the importance of bringing water with you on a trip like this to get the mission completed so you don't get dehydrated. The way that he describes his future movements, his plans, is almost like he's playing a violent video game. He also rants heavily in the manifesto about the new Norway and how it's become a place where women come in and they just take men's power. He said it's so hard to find a suitable female to marry because all the women in Norway are just so liberal and they would make horrendous housewives, which is why when he was
How was this 2011? I feel like this was like some 2025 stuff. Like, what? This sounds like we're talking about now, but this happened in 2011.
younger, in his 20s, he was a bit more.
Also, I was worried that because obviously this is very video gamey, because like psychopaths see the world almost like a video game, even if they weren't aware of what a video game was back in the day, and when video games didn't exist, it's still like psychopaths treat humanity and the world as if it is a video game. But I'm worried that they took this as another reason to be like, oh yeah, look what video games make people do. Assuming this or violent media makes people do. Assuming this guy's even played video games at all.
Housewives, which is why when he was younger, in his 20s, he was a bit more into the idea of getting married and having a traditional family and a housewife. He tried to get a mail order bride. Yeah, okay, so he said, I'm gonna look for women that are super submissive, right? And I think that is just crazy. To think that a specific ethnicity of women is more submissive is wild. But he also goes for Eastern European countries, which is like not what the women are known for there. They're usually known for being very independent and headstrong like any other country.
I don't know anything about that.
Meets a Russian woman by the name of Natasha, and he said that they dated for a while. And most of it was just him shit-talking her country and her culture. He was just like, yeah, you guys are super uncivilized, and I think that most of your vegetables and food is radioactive. Because, Chernobyl.
Wow.
Obviously, she stopped dating him, and he wondered why things did not work out. He was genuinely confused. He didn't feel like the problem was him, And there's really only two people in the relationship, so clearly the problem was with her, the female. And women, honestly, it was women's problem. He stated that his upbringing had been so difficult because his mom was a bad mom because of the feministic revolution. That's why she had so many boyfriends, because the world was like, you should have so many boyfriends. You're a feminist. Ooh, go do your thing.
Again, why does this sound like 2025 and not 2011? I mean, I didn't know anything about anything, like any politics or anything like that until probably a few years ago. So that's not really saying anything, but this does not feel like 2011. This feels like 2025, a story from 2025. This guy seems like the internet, your standard internet incel role, Reddit mod people want to joke around about. Discord mod. Like, how is there someone like, I mean, there's probably like always been these types of people throughout history, but like this just feels like a story that wasn't 2011. It just feels like this is the 2020s, or maybe even like later teens, but not 2011. Like, what the heck? We had people like this back then?
He remembers when he was a child, the very first female prime minister of Norway was in office, Gro. She's actually known as the mother of Norway. And
Well, just like people who are just so, I don't know if delusional is the right word, just so out of touch with reality which I do think people are getting further and further out of touch with reality as time goes on. I don't know what's going on with people. That's not just on one side. I mean, the full spectrum. I think people are losing touch of reality. But like, I didn't know we had such levels of out of touch back then.
He hated her. He said she embraced the position too much, as if she genuinely thought that a woman being in the most powerful seat of the country was a natural thing. That seat belonged to a man. She was just warming it up. He said that TV stations are busy being a propaganda machine where it just showcases female superiority. He rants that women use harassment charges to keep men in line. He writes, the man of today is expected to be a touchy-feely subspecies who bows to the radical feminist agenda. To summarize 1,500 pages.
And this just sounds like modern day. What is going on? This was people were like this 14 years ago, etc.
The women were taking over, and now this was turning into a vagina state. That's what people like him called it, a vagina state.
Well, I guess maybe that we had some of this stuff like even earlier outright. I'm not sure. Like in the 90s, I don't know.
Yeah. So what is he going to do about it? First, he's going to kill all these people to make a statement. The Labor Party, the Democrats, the liberals, if you will, the people that want women in power grow as part of the Labor Party. And it is the current ruling party of Norway at the time in 2011. He wanted to kill them, strike them down, make a statement. Then he would find a way to take over and stop the ruling of their country. And then he would create the most specific conditions for breeding the best race.
Okay, so we got the Aryan stuff coming in, but how do you destroy the Labor Party by killing a bunch of children who are technically not even in this Labor Party yet?
You had to have blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah, Nazis again. Like I said at the very beginning, this is going to turn some Nazi stuff, and here we go, Nazis.
He would create these surrogate factories where men with blonde hair, blue eyes would go in and just impregnate blonde-haired, blue-eyed women so that these genes don't disappear because of all the Muslims that were coming in and having sex with Norwegian women.
Wait, so he had a plan after this island shooting? Wow.
It was a very dumb plan, but he did have a plan. I mean, it's honestly wild because he felt like he was one of the superior people to repopulate the population, right? Most people describe him as being average. They basically state he's so average, he's not even good at being average. He's average at being average. He was an average dude, average grades, average personality. He was even an average bully. He wasn't even like the worst bully in school. He was just like a very average dude. The students on the island, they had two choices. Stay on the island and get shot, or try to swim away from the island and likely die by getting shot in the water or drowning. So they're all throwing themselves into the lake, and their heavy clothes are dragging them under the water. It's a dangerous place to swim. And then the figure appears. Anders is standing on the edge of the trees, staring at the teenagers, trying to swim away, and his face is bright red.
What am I looking at? Are these bodies that are blurred? I mean, they're censored, but are these bodies or just because we saw a guy standing on the rocks before that wasn't blurred, just his face. I don't know who that was. Maybe it was the guy who got to live and said, "Don't shoot me." Maybe that's who that was, but I don't know.
Was it blood? Was he just hot? I don't know. And he screams, "I'm gonna kill you all. You're all gonna die tonight."
Hold on, what?
He's staring at the teenagers, trying to swim away, and his face is bright red. Was it blood? Was he just hot? I don't know. And he screams, "I'm gonna kill you all. You're all gonna die tonight." And he opens fire. Viljar just remembers thinking, I shouldn't touch my brain right now. He could feel the cold water, and he remembered the bullets had just rained down on them. Viljar was busy shielding his brother, pushing him into the water, pushing him out of the way, and his brother kept screaming for him, and he kept screaming, "Swim, get out of here!" He remembers getting shot a few times. His brother was now gone, hopefully alive, swam away. Hopefully he did a good job pushing him. But now he was feeling most of his body go numb. His eye especially, it felt like something was in his eye. He could see with his other good eye, but not well. His childhood best friend slammed down right next to him. She had been shot, her hands were bloodied, and she was holding her stomach where the bullet was, and she was crying to him, "I'm gonna die, Viljar, I'm gonna die, aren't I?" "Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not gonna die. We're not gonna die." But he couldn't really see. He couldn't really see how injured she was. His eye was hurting him. He tried to open his other eye, and no light was coming in. He looked at his friend, and he calmly said, "I think I've been shot in my eye." She looked at him. Oh, shit. Because what else do you say to someone who had been shot in their eye? He put his hand up to his eye and he felt something squishy. It was soft. It was his brain. His skull had been shattered and there were bits of brain outside of his head.
Okay, well, isn't that... He's still functioning, but I'm pretty sure your brain cannot come in contact with anything. Which is why if they do brain surgery, you need to be really clinical and clean and sanitary, and nothing can get into contact with your brain. If it does, you die. So I feel like he is just... Maybe he lives through this, and we're getting his first person testimony because of the girl lives the gut shots that she took, but like her stomach, wherever she got shot at. But I don't know. Because like if his brain's exposed, well, then it's already game over. It's just waiting to see if he dies or not.
But his brother, he just needed to make sure that his brother was good so that he could rest. That's what they say in the movies, right? Keep yourself awake until your loved ones are good, and then you can go to sleep. So he laid there on the shore telling jokes to everyone there. He was shot, bleeding out. A lot of them near him were dead, and he would tell them jokes. He would hum, he would sing, and then he would cry for his brother. That was all he wanted to do, was to make sure his brother was safe until he couldn't do it anymore. That was his plan. Some of the other teenagers tried to find some humor in their potential last moments. 2 were shot on the shore and they were hiding behind rocks. They were both bleeding out, holding onto their wounds, trying to stop the blood flow, and they were trying to stay as still as possible so the killer doesn't come back. And they whispered, "It'd be really nice to have a cigarette right now." "Yeah, it would be. Do you think the shops are still open?" And they both giggled. And they stopped because it hurt. The Delta teams were dispatched to the island, Norway's elite police units. They arrived 72 minutes after Anders. They're trying to get an understanding of what's happening, but it's been pure chaos for the past 72 minutes. Nobody knows who the killer is, where the killer is, and how many there even are. I mean, everyone's busy trying to stay alive. Even when the Delta teams get there, they're trying to talk to some of the wounded to try and figure out who the shooter is, but they don't want to talk. The ones that are still conscious, they're scared. They don't know if it's just another shooter pretending to be a cop trying to get them to talk, so they're pretending to be dead still. How do they know that these police are the good guys? Authorities described the survivors as being curiously quiet. They said it seemed like they were more or less paralyzed. They weren't screaming, they were just sitting there, as quiet as possible. The locals who were working near the docks or live near the island, they started getting into their boats and they were getting ready. I mean, they had no idea what was going on, but it seemed like there were kids jumping into the frigid cold water trying to do something. So they start rushing over there. And now as they
Okay, so we've got civilians helping out again, just like in South Korea.
get closer, some of the boats stop and they just float around the island. Because they realize if they get closer, close enough to help the kids, they could also become a victim. There's clearly blood everywhere. Other boat owners, they don't even think twice. They start navigating closer to pull the kids out of the water. The kids are being pulled up one by one, shivering, some of them actively bleeding. The water around them is turning pink. What the hell is going on? They're coughing up water. A policeman is shooting at us. Another boat owner drove as close to the group of children as possible. They can't get too close because the boat's propellers, and they were trying to be as quiet, trying to get the kids to get into the boat or at least lift their arms out so we can help grab you. But none of the kids would respond. It's like they were too scared to move. It took him a minute to realize they were actually dead. One of the survivors said she has really bad vision and she had lost her glasses in the water. And she was really glad she did because she couldn't see much. But she was told it was a lake of death. Some of the boat rescuers told the kids, don't look back, okay? Just keep your eyes ahead. But some of the survivors, they couldn't help it. They looked back, and along the shoreline in the water were just the lifeless bodies of their friends scattered around. Anders was killing an average of one person per minute, one life taken per minute. And once the Delta teams get there, Anders was immediately arrested. It was incredibly anticlimactic, uneventful. He basically surrendered and told the police he's not going to hurt the police because they're his brothers. It's the others he wants to take out. Immigrants and those that are sensitive to immigrants, that care for immigrants. He said, I'm not against you. This is politically motivated. This country is being invaded by foreigners. This is a coup. This is the start of hell. A few things to note, Anders actually called to turn himself in multiple times while he was on the island, twice. And he mainly did this not because he was like, suddenly I feel remorse. I don't know why I did that. I just woke up from a hallucination and I was killing people. No, he did this because he did not want the officers to show up and shoot him on sight when they get.
Yeah, so how did they just like let him go? He's already killed like 69 children. I don't know again if the 8 from the bomb counts towards his 69 toll on the island. I'm not sure, but or if like the total people he killed is 77.
Get to the island. Ironically, he was very invested in wanting to save his own life. In addition,
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a psychopath. They don't want to die.
He kept calling his crimes executions, like the victims were executed by the state or something. He refuted them being referred to as murders, which is wild. After his arrest, the only thing that he seemed really to care about, well, one, was not being put in a prison with a lot of Muslim inmates.
Wow.
But also was that they do not take his picture. He was hell-bent on the police using one of the pictures that he had prepared for this very moment. He included it in his manifesto. In fact, he wrote in his manifesto, before you commit acts of terrorism, take professional headshots. Where you look good, get a haircut, buy a suit and tie, do your makeup even. Because otherwise, the police will purposely find the most R-word looking photo of you and post it everywhere. That's the photo you're going to be known for.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, did they actually use his professional photos or not?
And what did they use?
They used their own photo, mainly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see the photo that he prepared?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I mean, some of them are like him posing with a gun, but they do look photoshopped.
So it's like Facebook photo, like trying to look cool.
Yes. Trying to look bad and cool. Yeah. In a little more than an hour, Anders had shot 99 people. Almost all of them he shot more than once. Almost half of them he shot at least 3 times. Out of the 99, 69 died, leaving the remaining 30 with very serious injuries.
Okay, so the bomb killing the 8 was not part of that total. So it is, in fact, 77 that were killed. Assuming the bomb killed 8, right? I don't remember how many that killed. So he's killed technically 77 on this day.
In Oslo, he killed 8 people with his bomb, and in total, in the span of a few hours on July 22nd, 2011, he killed 77 people, the youngest being 14 and the oldest being 51, and the majority of the deceased being teenagers. 2 of his victims were not shot or impacted by the bomb, but one 17-year-old boy, in his attempt to flee the island, he fell off a cliff and fractured his skull, leading to his death. Another 17-year-old boy was trying to swim away to escape the island, but remember how I said it rains a lot during the summer? A lot of them were wearing rain jackets and rain boots. It wasn't hot, so a lot of them were wearing a lot of thicker, heavy clothing, and the water was pretty dangerous. He was found drowned at the bottom of the lake. It was the bloodiest day in Norway since World War II, and at the time, globally, it was the worst mass murder in modern Western history at the time. Everyone on the island gets divided into 3 categories by the authorities. Survivors who had been shot, but they survived. Bodies, and those who are still on the island and likely not alive. Their bodies have yet to be recovered. And of course, you had the group that were not shot and they survived. Do you remember Elizabeth? She was the one on the phone with her dad when she was shot. She was unfortunately, she passed. But her older sister, Catherine, was also on the island, and she called her parents, and she was trying to keep calm so that they didn't worry too much. And she told them, Mom, I've been shot in the stomach and the arm, but it's okay. I'm okay. They're taking me to the hospital. She would be hospitalized for 19 days, and then she'd be well enough to go home. And when she did, I mean, nothing in her life was the same anymore. She lost her little sister. She gets winded, even just climbing up a flight of steps. And one night, she completely broke down crying. Why me, though? Why me? Elizabeth was the pretty one with all the friends. Why did I survive? Why not her? Why did she have to be the one to die? And her parents didn't even know how to respond to that. Adrian, the one that Anders didn't shoot initially because he thought he looked conservative enough, well, he was eventually shot in the shoulder. Whether Anders was aiming for him or just opening fire on everyone and he happened to be in that group is unclear, but he was hiding when he was shot. He survived, made it to shore, and he kept insisting, I'm good. I've just been shot in the shoulder. There's other kids that have been shot in the head, the face, the stomach, the chest. Like, go take care of them. The EMT listens to his heart and they're shocked. I mean, they're staring at Adrian like he's not even supposed to be here, because if that bullet had been 1 millimeter, one pencil tip closer to the left, he would have...
What? So you got shot in the shoulder, so to the left would have been that way. Was there a artery there in the shoulder that cannot be shot or cannot be wounded unless you bleed out? I don't know if a shoulder artery... I'm assuming there's some sort of artery she's about to go on to, because there's no way it was this heart, right? If it was in the shoulder, I feel like it would have to be down and further to the right, all right? I don't know. I'm just guessing there's some sort of artery there that he almost died from.
If that bullet had been 1 millimeter, one pencil tip closer to the left, he would have needed to amputate his whole arm. If it had been 1 centimeter, about the size of a staple, closer to his heart, it would have killed him. Viljar, the brother who was shot in the eye, he survived.
Don't know how that happened, seeing as though his brain, you said his brain was exposed, which means it was exposed to the elements, which should have done significant brain damage, I mean, on top of being shot, but I feel like the elements would have also caused brain damage.
And then with the brain tissue out?
He lost an eye, he needed to amputate his arm, but he survived, and so did his brother. Viljar was in a coma for a really long time. Nobody knew if he was going to make it. And the doctors came in and they told his family, we're going to need to amputate his arm before he even wakes up from the coma. And his family said that Viljar's little brother, he would stick one arm into his shirt for the next few weeks until Viljar woke up. He said he wanted to prepare for when his brother woke up from his coma so he could teach them all the tricks of living without one of his arms. So he tried to live his life without one of his arms so that he could give him all the hacks. Yeah. There were a lot of siblings at the camp, and in some cases, parents lost both of their children at once. There was a survivor named Lara, and she said, it felt like he never ran out of bullets. When it started, there was so much mud that I almost slipped. I kicked off my sandals. I was running barefoot. It didn't take long to get to the end of the island, maybe 30 seconds. It was then that I realized there's no place to run to. There's nowhere to hide. She would lose her older sister, Bano, on the island. Many of the survivors, they lost friends or family, and they felt a ton of survivor's guilt. One survivor said, I only had time to escape and survive because he was busy killing someone else. In the days after the attack, the entire city of Oslo and really all over Norway, there were flowers laid out for the victims. Flower shops all over the country were running out of roses, lilies, then orchids, then carnations. Every church and monument in the city was covered in flowers. After Anders' arrest, Anders' mom was contacted by the police and she was told to come out of the building and put her hands in the air. She thought that her son had also been injured in the bombing in Oslo.
Why would they tell her to get out with her hands up if she thinks it was him being hurt? That's weird.
Freaking out, making sure that her baby's all right. She thought it was strange, like he's not coming over for dinner like he promised. And it was only in the interrogation room that she learned what her son did. And she kind of sort of defended him. I mean, she didn't deny that he did this, at least not.
I feel like she would have been like, I told y'all there's something wrong with him. Like she was preaching that there was something wrong with him from birth. Even though I feel like a lot of the damage was in fact inflicted by her. Not that it is not justified. We're not going into that. But like he has no excuse for what he did is what I mean. But I feel like she would have been saying that she was right all along. See, I told y'all. Y'all didn't listen to me or something like that. Apparently she's just defending him instead. I'm confused. I mean, she's his mom, so right? I feel like a lot of times some moms might just be like, okay, I don't care if my son kills the entire planet. I'm still gonna defend them, right? So who knows if it's that scenario or not. Despite what her personality said before, where it seems like she hated him, didn't want anything to do with him. She was abusing him, ? And it now she's defending him.
Not at the end, but she basically just said that Anders was a sensible and clever kid. He had good friends and was a nice boy, warm and fond of his mom. He did get arrested once before because he was like vandalizing public property. He was a tagger, meaning that he would go around tagging his name.
Yeah,
This is very different from graffiti artists. Graffiti.
That was just like something you did back in the day. I don't know if kids are still out doing that, but yeah, tagging was a thing back in the 2000s. 2011 was still around there, so yeah. I mean, we were talking about 2011, so she's probably talking about like the 90s or the 80s maybe, but people were still tagging in 2000s. So I don't know if kids are still tagging now. Don't tag, kids. Don't get in trouble for tagging.
The artists do art. For graffiti, taggers, they just write their names. Do you know those words?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would just spray paint walls. He was arrested for that once before. But other than that, she thought that he was getting his life together. After high school, Anders actually got involved in politics. He was actually a not bad networker once he needed to be. And because, that's what politics is. He was actually pretty good at it. Except there was always that thing. People could tell that Anders wanted to fit in a little too desperately. He also had a very strong preachy air about him that people didn't like in politics. For example, let's say you start a knitting club. Everyone who joins has never knit a day in their life prior to that club. Everyone is on the same skill level. Everybody is in the same experience level. And then suddenly 2 days in, there's someone giving you knitting advice as if they've been doing this for the past 2 decades of their life. And it's very annoying, to say the least. That's Anders. He gives up politics. He discovers his real passion is not politics, it's money. To him, it's either be a millionaire or die trying to be a millionaire. He was obsessed with money, status, and power. And honestly, he just liked the power that money gave him, nothing else. He would have all these big, grand ideas of how he was going to revolutionize a reputable industry. And he always complained, you should not be ashamed of wanting to have a better life and setting goals. Norway is obsessed with the loser mentality. Yeah. He was always preaching and ranting about aiming higher, smashing through the most insane goals and boundaries. And if you listen to him talking, you would think that he's in the process of starting like the next Fortune 500 company. But no, he's selling online fake diplomas. He had a website, and it's a legal gray area. He would list the website as a decorative prop store for movies.
Okay. I was like, what do you mean he can just sell diplomas? But yeah, it's just saying they're fake, but people are always going to use them as like the real thing.
Sets and films. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear. Everyone knows what's being sold there. He would sell very legitimate looking diplomas from top universities around the world. He was basically a glorified forger. And the only reason that he stopped, even though he was making like $1 million, he at one point was a millionaire.
What?
Yeah. He was scared not for being arrested. He was scared that he would be exposed for being a forger. And that is such a low thing to be exposed for. It's like being described as a thief. Like, that's a very low, petty crime. It was gross. So he quit selling fake diplomas and he tried to move on with his life, but he just couldn't find anything. So for 5 years, he moved in with his mom. This is when he's 27 years old. He locked himself in his room, and for 5 years, he just played video games. His favorites were World of Warcraft.
Okay, unfortunately, he's playing video games, so now we can just throw him under the video game bus. Video games cause all this kind of issues. He wasn't trying to kill anybody until he started playing video games.
He locked himself in his room, and for 5 years, he just played video games. His favorites were World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. He was actually pretty good at gaming, and he really liked the concept of gaming. He went on these rants about how you just need to put in the hours to be respected. You don't need to be born into games. You don't need to be handsome. You play, and you get respect from other players. That's it. He likes that everybody starts on the same footing, and nobody has inherent privileges, which... I mean, nobody tell this guy about cheat codes. A lot of netizens did later point out that it is strange. He's a neo-Nazi, which the best way to categorize Anders is neo-Nazi and they're fascists. They're like super far right. And usually they're the bitter enemies of communists, which some would argue is like super, super far left. But sometimes the things he says, it feels like he identifies more as a communist than a fascist. He's like, everybody should be equal. But only if you have blonde hair, blue eyes. And only if you have a wee-wee. He also did join the Freemasons only because someone on his dad's side was a Freemason. And he basically forced him into recommending him. And
he did join.
He did join.
Oh.
And nothing really came out of that. By the time that he had his little initiation ceremony, yeah, they have ceremonies, he was over the Freemasons. He was like, this is stupid. I'm just going to go kill people. He was already planning the murders at this point. At the end of the interview with Anders' mom, she looked the interviewer dead in the face and she said, I am the unhappiest mother in Norway. There is only one place a criminal would want to be called crazy or insane, out of their minds, bonkers, And that's in a courtroom. It's the only place that's actually going to help them to be considered a madman.
I was like, yeah, what is she going with this? But yeah, if you can plead insanity, I think you obviously get a lesser sentence. I don't know how that works though. Do you just end up in an asylum? Is being in an asylum better than being in a prison? Yes, actually, now that I think about it. Because, I mean, we all know the stories about prison. I'm not going to go there. Um, so I guess technically it's better to be locked up in a padded room than in prison. Assuming that, I mean, asylums aren't how they used to be, because of course they're not, but if this was back in the day, then maybe being tortured all day, every day in an asylum is probably worse than jail, but I don't know.
Unless you're Anders and your attorney recommends a not guilty plea of insanity, but you want everyone to know that you knowingly committed all these crimes knowing right from wrong. Being considered insane by the court system was his biggest nightmare. Yeah, priorities, okay? Another priority for Anders was debating should he do a closed fist salute or an open palm salute. He decides to go with the closed fist. When he walks into the courtroom, before he takes his seat, he shoots out his right arm and extends it as straight as possible, and his right hand is clenched into a fist, and his knuckles are white. Then he turns straight to the gallery of the courtroom and makes eye contact with the family members of the victims. He looks incredibly pleased with himself. Now, side note, they did have Anders go to the island and recreate the whole 72 minutes with them. They brought him back to the island. He was wearing...
Really? Is this something they do with killers like this? That's an interesting thing. I mean, they have him on a leash, right? Which is like, I don't think I've ever seen that. Putting a criminal on a literal leash. But weird thing to like recreate something so horrible. I mean, he probably really wanted to do it. So, and he's walking so casually. I mean, look. I mean, we haven't brought up the pin in a while on the video, so let's do it now. I mean, look at the like the strut that we're having here. Oh, I changed this to white earlier because I was going to do something with that lamp that was driving me crazy. The strut here, looking down at the ground, like it's like he's just walking, like the hands, like not to mention the hands in the pockets. God, I cannot get an arrow from this angle, a decent arrow, but yeah, just like that strut there, hands in the pockets, staring at the ground, like we're just having little fun here. Stroll, recreating mass murder. Like, he is not miserable at all. And even this here, pretty well, actually. It's not this here.
Anders go to the island and recreate the whole 72 minutes with them. They brought him back to the...
That's like, he looks like he's smiling in this shot. So like, he's enjoying this.
Island. He was wearing a bulletproof harness. He was tethered to a police officer so that he couldn't run off. Literally, he's wearing one of those child leashes, but much more serious, bulletproof, tear-proof. You get it. And he's just...
Again, it just looks like he's just having any other Tuesday, just having a discussion here, just hanging out with a bunch of police. He's smiling at this point, but this one over here, it looks like he's just having a stroll with his friends. Like, it literally looks like he's just having a stroll with his friend. But he just happens to be leashed up like a dog. Oh shoot, I accidentally pressed like 1 or something. Where was I? That's too far. Where were we? Okay, let me pause and find out where we were.
One of those child leashes, but much more serious, bulletproof, tear-proof. You get it.
This one, he's just having a conversation.
Demonstrating where he...
Okay, we can look at this. So 7-7. Breivik, is that his last name or something? So guy arrives on Utoa Island, and then he gets to 2, Area 2, keeps going with Area 3, cafe where he tells youngsters to gather around, then begins killing them. 4, is that 17-10, which we're talking about 5 at this point. We're at 5-10, I think. Walks through campsite where more are executed. And then up to 5, 7:33. So that's probably 6, right? Heads back south. People try to hide by jumping into water. 7, so 5:35. high on drugs and listening to music. He tracks victims along the coastline, I'm guessing. 8 TV helicopter films what he's doing, I'm guessing. They somehow got in there watching him do this. 17-8 shoots first victims, including the Bernstein stepbrother and princess Met Merritt. There's a princess here? I don't know what that means, but... So, he gets here, shoots them, and then walks this way to here. Who's it with firing at those trying to escape his onslaught? I didn't see this one.
Shot which group, then which way he walked.
Why is he wearing
Films him executing
They were
people.
worried that he was going to threaten them into killing him. Like, he was going to threaten a police officer so that they would shoot him dead.
Wait, they were afraid that one police officer would kill him.
He would put them in a situation where they had to shoot him. Like, he would want to exit by a police officer.
Except for the fact that his entire body is exposed outside of the vest. I mean, his head's exposed, legs, arms. I mean, it's not like a bulletproof vest is going to save his head from a bullet.
Right, like he's trying to run away or trying to attack.
Also, what I was talking about with this, why I changed this to white, is just because I wanted to do this and see if that would like stop me from going crazy over this. I know I keep harking on that. That looks like that snack. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know what they're called. I don't remember what they're called, but you just put some swirl in that. It's these. What are those now? Those snacks. Junk food. Cakes.
Them and then...
So they can make him exit, but they didn't want to do that because they wanted him to stand for his crimes.
Right, okay.
Now, to a degree, it was for the police to get a very clear picture of how everything happened, but it was also so that they could get a gauge on his emotions. And I
just realized I turned that face on. How long has that face been on for? I know I just reset the time again, but like how long have I had this face here? I don't know. That entire time, right? My bad. I wish I would have noticed that sooner. Let me fix the thing again. Okay, so we're back. Again, I did not notice that I had changed the face, but yeah. I needed to think about that since I had just had the hotkeys set to change the expressions on models, but I didn't even think that that would cause the YouTube videos to cycle through the timeline, so oof, that doesn't really go well together.
Trying to attack them and then...
So they can make him exit, but they didn't want to do that because they wanted him to stand for his crimes.
Right, okay.
Now, to a degree, it was for the police to get a very clear picture of how everything happened, but it was also so that they could get a gauge on his emotions. And they observed that he had no regret, no emotions going back to this island. There is a picture of him where he was just holding up an imaginary gun and he's grinning. So he's basically displaying to the police, this is what I did here. It's like he's reliving the kills. Later during the trial, Anders is given the opportunity to address the victims' families, and he slowly gets up from his chair, turns to face the court, and he says, when people say they have lost their most beloved, I also lost my entire family. I lost my friends. It was my choice. I sacrificed them, but I did lose my entire family and friends on July 22nd. I lost everything. So to a certain extent, I understand.
Crazy.
In one snippet of his testimony, so in the US, it's advised that defendants do not take the stand, but Anders' testimony and cross-examination would go to last longer than a week. He actually gets very upset when they start rushing him because this is his time to shine. Yeah, and he tried to argue that he did not do this out of evil. He did this out of goodness. He was trying to help Norway. He also compared the summer camp, to a Hitler Youth event, which is crazy considering he has many parallels in the way that he thinks that are parallel to Hitler. And what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
That's not even politically correct. It's
he's just like out of it, and delusional, out of touch with life, out of touch with reality, etc. We said all that earlier, right?
astonishing how someone can be so evil, but also at the same time so incredibly unaware of themselves and their own ideologies. It's just weird.
I recognize the Norwegian courts. You have received your mandate from political parties which support
Day 17 of the trial, an object goes...
Multiculturalism? What is it? Yeah, multiculturalism.
Day 17 of the trial, an object goes flying through the courtroom. a shoe.
Sure.
I mean, all anyone can do is just stare at it. It misses Anders, which is the target, and it hits one of his defense attorneys instead. And a man gets up screaming from his chair, "Go to hell, you killed my brother, you go to hell." Anders turns around and he looks disgusted by this man's actions. Like, throwing a shoe is the most violent and vile, just despicable, uncivilized thing a human could do. But that man looks him dead in the face and says, "You're a murderer and a devil, so go to hell." The whole courtroom is silent before one person starts clapping. And then another, and then suddenly everybody is cheering and clapping.
Is this going to boost his ego or not? Because he might think they're clapping for him, depending on how crazy he is.
The young man is escorted out of the courtroom with just one shoe. Now, to give you additional context, like I said, Anders hates Muslims, and shoe throwing actually has a very strong significance in Arab culture. Shoe throwing has, from my understanding, it basically means that the target of the shoe is worth no more than the dirt that we step in.
Yeah, I think there's like can't quote me on this because I don't know. Like the bottom of your feet in certain cultures, I'm assuming this culture, is like the most disgusting part of your body, and thus to do like show your feet is like to be extremely rude. I mean, probably further than just rude, like to completely disrespect somebody to the fullest. And I guess that extends to throwing a shoe, because then you're throwing again the thing that's attached to the most disgusting part of your body, because it touches the ground, and the ground is dirty, and therefore you're being extremely disrespectful to someone to the fullest degree by throwing the shoe, I think.
And that's why he threw the shoe. He said that he just wants to humiliate Anders. That's all. Convey a message for all the victims, and it's an expression of disgust. In the end, Anders was deemed sane and given the maximum punishment of 21 years.
What? Huh? 21 years for killing 69 children? Well, nearly 69 children, and then over 8 adults? What do you mean 21 years? And I know it's in Norway. Again, I don't know if Norway is supposed to be like the utopia or whatever. Because I'm pretty sure there's some place in the world that's like the best, most utopic place in existence. I don't know if that's Norway. I feel like it's Norway. So like, is Norway just so utopic that they don't have harsh rules for murder because they never needed them? Like, hello? What do you mean 21 years? This happened in 2011. It hasn't been 21 years yet. Still need another 10. Well, not even 10. Might even be less than 10 at this point, depending on how long this trial went. But like, huh?
You're kidding me.
Now, I will say there is a loophole in this. So this
Asterisk, like 21 years per person? So he's going to be gone for thousands? Or are we just saying
sentence is what the Norwegian justice system calls containment. So it's not technically 21 years. It's likely that he'll never get out. So basically what happens is that parole can be considered in 10 years. But after 21 years, for whatever reason, it doesn't even really have to be like a valid, strong, crazy reason. The parole board is just like, no, you're going to stay another 20 years. It just seems like that's the maximum they can give. So it just means that after 21 years, they have to evaluate.
Oh, okay.
But like, there's no way he's getting out, is what most people believe.
Can you imagine though?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, there's less than 10 years to go, I'm pretty sure. So who knows if he does get out and what could happen if that does in fact happen.
No, I don't think so. Like, I think...
I mean, in today's climate, oh my God. In today's climate, he would be drinking the Kool-Aid so hard that he would do this like 1,000-fold. So he cannot be let out again.
No, Norwegians would... No. Yeah. Anders will be kept in solitary confinement. His only friends are a few parakeets that he gets to keep in his... He has a 2-story prison cell. It's 2 stories. We're going to get back to it because Norway has some of the best prisons.
Oh my God.
Again, it's supposed to be utopia.
Gosh.
Now, the victims' families and survivors are just trying to navigate life and, in most cases, severe PTSD. One survivor said that there are times where he's in a crowded street or store and he starts having panic attacks. His chest gets tight, like he's gasping for air. Another survivor said the only place that they feel safe is in a moving car, where there's no strangers, there's no openness, and it's easy to drive away. Some survivors still have bullets or fragments of bullets in their bodies because
yeah, if they took it out, it would actually cause more damage or maybe even kill them. They have to just leave it there because it's too hard to remove it.
Would have been more dangerous to remove them. And one survivor said it definitely hurts with trying to move on. They said mentally it's like, there are still pieces of evil inside of me. And it just feels like a reminder. Some of the victims' families and survivors have moved on though. Elizabeth and Catherine's dad, the one that was on the phone when he heard his daughter died, he said he doesn't hate Anders. He said, because I don't give a damn about him. Why should I care? I still have my family that I need to take care of, and to hate him, it would take my energy. From day one, he is nothing but zero to me. Now, I want to give a massive disclaimer regarding Anders' imprisonment.
What do you mean?
I chose to include this portion regarding the Norwegian prison system only because it is a fact of the case and because a lot of netizens were talking about it. And I only compare it to the US prisons because naturally that's where the most of you guys are. And also when I hear, oh, he's in prison, I'm kind of picturing an American prison, right? That is not the case.
Which is just like the worst place you want to be is an American prison.
Anders filed a
maybe. I don't know if it's worse at other. Maybe it's the worst at other places.
Formal complaint. Well, he waged a lawsuit against the country of Norway for a violation of his human rights in prison. He demanded a replacement of his PS2, PlayStation 2, to a PS3 because at this point the PS4 had already come out, and it's not like he's demanding the best one, the newest one, but the PS2 is way too outdated.
What else can he do in there? Or what can he not do in there?
Yeah, which by the way, Anders said that during the trial, in his manifesto too, he stated that he practiced shooting in first-person point shooter games like World of Warcraft, but in prison he gets access to any adult games that he chooses. Shooter games like...
gamer fraud confirmed, because you just referred to World of Warcraft as an FPS, but I don't think that was just a mistake.
Manifesto too. He stated that
Let's hear that again.
Practice shooting in first-person point shooter games like World of Warcraft, but in prison he gets...
Yeah, she got completely jumbled up there. Warcraft is an MMO, not a first-person shooter. Not that that matters, but just something to have a little laugh at. Since I mean, this video is like messed up. All these videos are messed up, so we can at least take a moment to appreciate the fact that she's confirmed not a gamer by referring to World of Warcraft as a first-person shooter. Or she kind of jumped up even saying first-person shooter. At least she wanted to say first perspective or something like that. But yeah, now we have to go back to the horror of this video.
Practice shooting in first-person point...
horror of the video. The tragedy of the video.
Shooter games like World of Warcraft, but in prison he gets access to any adult games that he chooses. So he could be playing these video games. And this is not me trying to make a connection with violent video games. Like I typically don't subscribe to that belief, but he straight up said, that's how I practiced. He also went to shooting ranges, but he also said, yeah. He demands that his government allowance of $49 per week should be doubled.
Get an allowance? Hello? Do I need to move to Norway and go to jail? Can I get a $49 allowance? Hello? Where's my allowance? Government? Where's my prison allowance?
Yeah, and he said that the fact that his typewriter has not been upgraded to a computer is a violation against his human rights, and he...
What do you even spend the money on? Of $49. I mean, $50. I mean, that's whatever. Like $200 a month. But where are you spending that money?
Also mentions how he was given a rubber pen because he was constantly talking about self-exiting. So of course they're not going to give him a sharp pen to hurt himself with. So they gave him a rubber pen, and he said the pen is not ergonomic and it gives his hand cramps. He said it's actually sadistic that the government would give him nothing but a rubber pen to write with. He said it's a nightmare of an instrument and I'm very frustrated with it. He wrote in the lawsuit, "You put me in hell and I won't manage to survive that long. You are killing me. If I die, all of Europe's right-wing extremists will know exactly who it was that tortured me to death. The liberals." He also called himself a political prisoner and a human rights activist in the lawsuit. A human rights activist. Side note, there are a lot of women writing love letters to Anders in prison.
I mean, that's not to say that's just normal, man. I know you don't want to hear it. That's just normal. How many serial killers have how many serial killers have women just like thrown themselves at as soon as they're in prison, trying to become their like wife? I mean, I don't know what's... we're not going to go into the psychology of that. Even though I think I have heard of like why that's a thing, but that's actually more normal than you think. Just serial killers having women throwing themselves at them. It's unfortunately just normal. Sad to say.
But because he's in solitary confinement, the authorities get to read through all the letters before he gets to them, and they reject all of those, all the quote fun ones. I do believe that they let in some hate mail because he also gets a lot of hate mail. In 2022, he applied for parole. After his minimum sentence of 10 years was served, his application was denied. Now, in 2024, he is 45 years old, and he waged another lawsuit this year against Norway, and he claims that his conditions in prison are inhumane and it's making him want to self-exit. But when a psychologist evaluated him, they stated that he does not appear to be very depressed and he was very low risk for self-exiting. But just to give you an idea of how depraved his inhumane conditions are, here's a glimpse of his everyday life. He can play video games, watch TV, read the newspaper, and check out books from the prison library. He was given a computer, so his typewriter was changed into a computer, but he does not have internet access. He can prepare his own food and do his own washing. He can have phone conversations with female friends. He can contact prison staff, lawyers, a priest, health professionals. He has an outside volunteer that he was working with to get updates on life and help with things, but he no longer wishes to see them. I think they pissed him off. They can play chess.
Can he just like bed rot all day, or is he forced to work like you are over here, right? Because you're forced to work in American prisons, right? I mean, it's not like I've ever been to the jail or prison, so I don't know how they work completely or what you're forced to do. But I feel like you're forced to do labor in prison, like nearly slave labor in prison, nearly, not quite. Does he even need to do that? Can he just sit in his room all day and do nothing? Just play PS3 all day? I mean, that room is a bit small, claustrophobic, but for a prison cell, that is a 5-star hotel, in my opinion. So, oof. Again, like I said, Norway's like utopia, so even the prisons are utopic, right?
Chess with some volunteers. He built a gingerbread house as part of a prison competition during the holidays. He's got access to an outdoor play yard and is allowed to keep pet birds.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, Norway prison, like, Jesus Christ. You assume this has to be like maximum, the maximum kind of prison you can get sent to in Norway, right? So for it to be that crazy is just wow. What are like the baby like prisons where like you barely did anything, like you stole like a piece of candy, right? And you just get thrown in prison. What is that prison like? Is that just a mansion? You got like $1,000 allowance so per week. You get a brand new Switch 2 in your prison cell. Like hello.
He has a living room in his cell that is the size of a medium-sized apartment living room, and there are 2 video game consoles connected to a flat-screen TV that looks to be about 60 inches. He has black leather couch.
What? This is his living room? What is outside? Why does he have a window? Can he just break those and get out? I mean, why would you want to though, right? You got an allowance. You got a. I don't even have a 60-inch TV. Hello. I'm using 2 monitors, but they're 20 odd between the two of them. Like they're both 20-something inch monitors. Yeah, freaking. What is this? Is this a computer or like? I don't know what the Xboxes look like because I don't have an Xbox or PlayStation. I can't tell what this is. If it's like a DVD player or if that is one of the two. If that's like an Xbox Series S or something like that. Yeah, just a big old TV, freaking couches. Like, what is going on in Norway?
Consoles connected to a flat screen TV that looks to be about 60 inches. He has black leather couches, a coffee table, and curtains on a massive window that lets in a ton of natural light. He has a dining table that has one of those table runners that's equipped with candles. So I guess if he wants to eat nicely. The prison gym has a rowing machine, a leg press, all of it which looks very clean and new. Now, normally, this is a cell pod, so that 2-story cell would be shared between a few prisoners, but because Anders is high risk, he gets to have it all to himself. And he believes this is inhumane.
Again, like, hello? can I move to Norway and just get thrown into prison? Not for doing anything bad, just like throw me in prison and throw me into this in a cell like that, please. Hello.
And
I mean, people try to do that in America, and in America, like prison sucks. So if people are trying to do that in America, I wonder if people in Norway are trying to do that, get themselves thrown into prison. It's better than being homeless, right? Be homeless or get 3 meals a day, a 60-inch screen, multiple game consoles, a computer, and a bunch of other stuff, like for free for the rest of your life. Assuming you can get life in prison, not somehow without doing anything bad, just for some reason you get life. I don't know, like punch a cop or something. That's a federal crime, is it not? I don't know how many years you'll get for that, but like something like that. I don't know what you would do. Again, it's just that conundrum of there's nothing you can't like. There's just nothing else you can do but get thrown into prison because living in prison is better than trying to live in society or um, on the streets homeless because what they give you in prison is just better than trying to afford a living. And apparently in Norway, you just get a apartment anyways that you would be trying to get in real life by working a 9 to 5, like killing yourself working a 9 to 5. Apparently you can just get that apartment for free in Norway and get an allowance.
that is the story of what happened on Utoya Island. I don't think I need a disclaimer, but obviously, I don't think any religion has any sort of connection with one's personality. I do think that there's a lot of villainification of Muslims, and I mean,
I don't think anything he said
is even
worth debated on.
It's not even a conversation because it's like talking to a brick wall. Like there are no thoughts. It's just pure hatred.
Yeah.
There is a Netflix movie that was created based off the events, and
Fictional movie?
Fictional. I think there were some conversations about it, which obviously it was not used as source material, but I just wanted to let you know. What are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments. This was a highly requested video, and please check out the book. I think the author works with a lot of the victims' families, and it was just an incredibly tough read to get through, but I think it is very insightful. Please stay safe, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.
Okay, well, there we go. That was I don't remember what this place is called. She just said it, the Utayo or whatever island massacre, I guess we could call that. Which, I mean, just 500 teens trapped on an island with a madman. That one was crazy. Again, unhinged. Again, like I was saying at the beginning, the way it was being spoken was kind of unhinged, like all over the place, very out of like place in pieces. But that might have been on purpose, so we'll say like that was on purpose. But yeah, just like a psychopath that just now is just living it up in prison in the best conditions possible. People wish they could have that kind of life. I don't know how the families feel about that if they knew that he's just living it up in a standard apartment. I mean, he is limited, but still, again, people wish they could just have that kind of lifestyle. Like they're killing themselves trying to get to that lifestyle when he's just getting it for free. Or not even for free, for doing something bad, he's got it for free. So that must really make some people upset, I would assume. The parents or whatnot. But like the one dad said, he's not worth the time. Like he has his family to take care of. He can't waste time worrying about that guy. So you can only hope that is true? Question mark. Again, I don't know what I'm going to be watching next. I actually don't have anything lined up for next tomorrow. I'll have to actually find that out tomorrow. So we'll see. Maybe people will say something or suggest something in the meantime. But otherwise, I'll just try to pick something and find something out. But you guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers or think about becoming a member or subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're working on watch time and subscribers, and over at We With Own as well. And shout out the members, EmmyStarr and RaleyDrew. Thank you guys for watching. Tune in to the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. Another do. See ya.